All right, hello people out there. I believe we've just got our pairings up, so we've just got to scroll down and find our pairings and sort it out. Because it's run slightly differently from normal tournaments, we have to go through it this way. Right, table 15. So it's an open deck list tournament, so we both get to see what each other are running. Our opponent is on an Eldrazi deck list. Okay. Right, so just have to make sure we add the right person so that we don't get random people having us. Lucas Giggs. Sure. Right, so you have to set up all of our rounds and things, and let's create this match. I'm sure this will become a smooth operating machine in no time at all. Right. I don't have my double screen set up yet, so I am kind of using my phone whilst also trying to use my computer. So, a bit awkward, but we'll have the chat up for next time, since I'll be having double screening in about a week's time. Right, we may as well look at our opponent's deck list a bit more, just in case there's anything I missed. Devourers, Once Upon a Time, At the Hell's End. This is pretty much the stock list. Right. Right, my opponent's client just crashed. There's a few little bugs here. But we'll get through it. We can do a little deck tech. I might as well just talk about the deck while we're waiting as well. So, I've always been a big proponent of mono black aggro for quite a while. Ever since the blue black scam deck first existed over a year ago, I started playing mono black, and it was pretty good into the blue-black scam, and that was the reason to play it. You had things like Orcish Bowmasters, which absolutely ruined a lot of these sort of blue decks that were trying to draw a bunch of cards and stuff. So a lot of your things ended up being one-sided, and you ended up to sort of going over the top of them in a lot of ways. And we're just trying to relive that sort of moment. I played the deck at Eternal Weekend. Not Eternal Weekend. The European Legacy Masters last year. And it felt pretty good. And we're just trying to run it back today. We've updated the list a little bit. I suppose we could probably try and take a look at the list. All right, here's our main deck anyway. Actually, can we go into the collection? We can. Okay. So we've got different permanents to suppress what our opponent's doing, whether that's Opposition Agent or Orcish Bowmasters or Doughty Voidwalker, Emperor of Bones. So a lot of graveyard hate in the main deck. Got a nice suite of 8 removal spells. We've got Fatal Pushes and Shoulder's Edict. We've got fast mana off the rituals to power some things like turn 1 Opposition Agent, which can just win a game, just give you free wins, and who doesn't want like free wins? The Vexing Board was really useful against a lot of decks, as you can probably imagine. And yeah, we just got like a little package of hand disruption. Back in the day, this deck was a Grief deck, but it's not that anymore because we don't have Grief. We have Baragoyf now, which is a nice threat that we have that gains a bit of life, and it's quite large, but we're not pumping this the most. So we've only got 2 copies because we don't just want to be ramping this out on turn 1. It's not really a great thing to play on turn 1. We've got some fetch lands and 1 surveil lands, which can help pump up our Baragoyf, as well as giving us Revolt for the Fatal Push. And just a little bit of selection in case we need like a half a ponder effect. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I've got some spicy ones in the sideboard. I love a bit of Cursed Totem. In the world of Nardu, this and like Cephalid Breakfast, this card is surprisingly great. And I expect to see some more people reaching for it. Right, let's go back to the room and see if we are ready. Not quite yet. Yeah, there's some sort of bug on the client at the moment. It's a little bit awkward for trying to do these sorts of pairings. But hopefully we'll sort it out soon. Just mute this for a little bit so you don't get any notifications popping up. Just trying to sort of do things on my phone and on the computer at the same time. It's a little bit awkward, but we're getting it. We might end up having a very quick game as well, given the nature of our decks, because our opponent's going to want to smash us pretty hard and fast with their Eldrazi, and we're just going to want to do a similar thing to them by shutting them out of the game with some of our bits and pieces, although our tools aren't great against Eldrazi, if I'm being perfectly honest. If we load back up here. So our tools against Eldrazi, we have removal spells, these are useful, but Opposition Agent isn't really doing very much. The Doughty Voidwalker is fine, it's a threat that has evasion, so we can always keep clocking, and if they're hitting themselves with Ancient Tombs, we get a lot of damage in that way. If we just reanimate a big troll, that's going to be bigger than a lot of their things anyway. The Vexing Bauble, not the most useful here. So the game 1 is going to be a little bit tricky, but Baragoyf can be large. Game 2, we can get a little bit of use. So this can stop all of their tokens off of the Glaring Fleshraker, which is a pretty big deal. The Damping Sphere is fine against them. It can stop them getting multiple mana out of some stuff, which is okay. And if we want to, we can index into some Hymn to Turax just as a nice 2-for-1. If we find this out early, our opponent might have a lot fewer resources, and then we should maybe be able to grind that from there. Alternatively, if we Doughty Voidwalker and Thoughtseize away something spooky, we can just play it. So if they've got like a Null Drifter that we've seen in their list, or the 6/6 Devourer, we might just be able to get that on turn 2 if we Dark Ritual out our Doughty Voidwalker. So we've got some options here. This is not going to be the easiest matchup. There's a little bit more Eldrazi than I was expecting in this tournament, but I think we'll be okay. We really want to pair into the sort of blue-black decks the most, though. How are we doing over here? Still struggling a touch. Alright, another thing I was going to do between rounds, so maybe we can get that going now, is having a look at the Jumpstart and the Foundations cards. I haven't had a proper scour of the set yet, so it'll be interesting to have a look through those. I might do a set review for next weekend as well, Just like my favourite picks for the Legacy format. I've not seen this one before. Some sort of big pussycat monster. That sounds pretty cool. In a world with Ocelot Pride, this might actually have some relevant text. Crystal Barricade. This does not seem like a very fun card. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. And you have hexproof. Yeah, it's a little bit rude, isn't it? This is about lots of cat stuff, apparently. Creatures you control get +2/+2, and it costs 1 less for each cat. I don't think that's going to be doing anything in Legacy, that's for sure. Oh, there's so much text on cards these days. I just want some good vanilla creatures. That'll make me happy. What we got here? Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Sure, but it's 4 mana, so I can probably just disregard. That's how I do a lot of my spoiler looks. Just have a look at the mana cost, power and toughness, and then work out if it's going to be worth it. Some sort of many rabbits. Okay. Let's just check in on the room. Nothing as of yet. Could be an awkward one here. Alright. Sorry. I'm used to making videos, not making live streams, so you'll have to bear with me and my my lack of familiarity with this. It's been a long time since I streamed anything. That was probably like a decade ago, playing Hearthstone for a few months. Alright, we got here. This costs loads of mana. I don't think this is worth reanimating, so we'll ignore it. We got here Sky Knight Squire. 2 mana 1/1, whenever another creature. Okay, if this was a 2/2, maybe I could think about it, but I'm not going to. Return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now this probably has some sort of use. You can probably do something a bit wild with this. 4 mana is, you know, a reasonable amount for Legacy, but in theory, if you're doing something that enables you to cast this and pretty much just win the game, that's probably okay. I have to think a bit more about what goes with this, but there's some options. Probably something in black, so you have Stitcher's Supplier to mill yourself out and get some more stuff in there. We got here some sort of mythic enchantment, 5 mana. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Big Fin Bouncer. This card looks great, but it's not going to be any good. We got here instant sorcery spells, cost 1 less, 5 mana, 3/6. All right, let's keep scrolling. Threshold. I like Threshold. 7 more cards in your graveyard. Nope, no good. No good. Right, I'll check in with my opponent and see if they've got any more details on how they're doing. Alright, let's carry on with this. We'll at least fill some dead air. Was it 6 mana, can't be countered, 5/5 flyer. Enters fact or fiction, sort of. Okay. Too expensive. So it's 2 mana, 1/3. Okay, this is the sort of mana and stats that might be useful. Vigilance, prowess. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many incubation counters on it. We need 3 incubation counters from this creature. Deal. Get a 2/2 guy. That's no good. What is this? Flash, prowess. Nope. Keep going. Obviously, this set is not designed for Legacy, so I'm not expecting to see a bunch of big Legacy playables. Alright, we're going to try a different plan here. Let's try and do a direct challenge to our opponent here. Legacy. This is the list we want here. Yep. Okay, tournament practice, 25 minutes. Allow watches. Let's try this. It says our opponent's joined the game, so that's step 1. I've won the die roll. Right, so our opening hand has just Fell the Profane as a land into Dark Ritual. So we could do something like turn 1, Danity Voidwalker, plus Vexing Ball. But we know Vexing Ball isn't very good in this matchup, so not really what we want. So I'm going to mulligan this one. So we have Thoughtseize into Cycle Troll, Reanimate Troll. That's probably fine. I think we've probably been off the second Thoughtseize. We don't want to spend too much life on what our opponent's cards are when we have like a removal spell, and we have a wasteland. These are all sort of tools that we would like to have access to. So I think we keep this and we bottom this Thoughtseize. Right, so begin, go and get ourselves a basic swamp. Let's see what our opponent's 7-card hand looks like. It didn't reveal anything, so we might be able to jam them up a bit here. Double Chalice to the Void, Ancient Tomb. Oh dear. Cyclonist Troll might not be the most useful thing right now. So we want to incentivize our opponent to play this It the Herald's the End over these chalices. So we don't take one of the chalices, and we don't take the It the Herald's the End. So we probably just take the Thought-Knot Seer here. This could be an awkward one. Maybe they'll just play this 2-2 instead of this really oppressive spell. All right, they got Once Upon a Time as their draw for turn, so they get a little bit of selection here. I will try to respond to people in chat when I remember. All right, so we've got an Ancient Tomb. They're going for the Chalice. The amount of time they're taking to click this. Yep. All right. Things are more difficult for us now, for sure. So what are we doing here? If we take out this Ancient Tomb, that doesn't actually help us very much because they still have a bunch of other stuff here. Sorry, we got rid of the Thought-Knot Seer. So they still have the Temple and the Eye, and I'd rather hit one of those and force them into losing life off of this. Which means we're probably looking at playing a Wasteland, holding up the Shoulder's Edict, probably cycling the Troll still just to get the next land. The other option there is to cycle the Troll first, just get the Surveil land and try and get a little bit of action going. But if our opponent manages to top deck a Thought-Knot Seer, I would like to be able to kill it with our removal spell before it gets taken from our hand. Not feeling great about this one. I did mention just before we started that I don't like the Eldrazi matchup that much, and I was expecting a little bit more blue-black than Eldrazi in the format overall for this tournament. But I think Eldrazi was one of the most played decks. I think it was second most played deck. Obviously, the blue-black decks are split between Tempo and the Reanimator build, so they've got a lot more of a meta share, but each individual side is lesser. But we're very good into the blue-black Tempo and the blue-black Reanimator deck, which is kind of what we're hoping to play against all day. Right, our opponent's taking a minute there. I'll just check on the Discord to make sure they haven't got some more issues. No, okay. They're just making some decisions there. A Lotus Petal. Are they going to be playing a bigger spell this turn? We'll find out. They're probably a little bit dubious as to why we didn't wasteland them. Alright, so we are seeing something a bit larger. A Chalice for 2. Well, well, well. Not a big fan of this. Not a fan of this at all. Alright, let's Swamp Cycle. Get ourselves... I think it has to be a Shadowy Backstreet at this point. So no 1-drops, no 2-drops. So we draw a 2-drop. Our deck is mostly 1 and 2 drops, so we're not going to have a great time here. Let's move this out of the way. This can go into the graveyard. We do not want to draw another uncastable card. I'm happy to get rid of this Temple, though. It does mean that we won't have a third mana to cast our 3-drops, which are the only drops we can cast. So that kind of is an awkward one. I think we're just in trouble, full stop here. Alright, we're going to see in it the Herald's the End, maybe. No, so something like a Baragoyf can just absolutely run away with this game still. Okay, opponent, you can have a look at my hand. It doesn't do anything. It's been a long while since I've lost a game just off to chalices. It's good keeping people honest with the chalices, though. Just good old-fashioned Magic the Gathering right there. Jamming someone up right in the heart. Alright, they took an irrelevant card, but they shouldn't have taken this because this gives us... Oh, we already had Artifact in the graveyard, actually, I was going to say, so it doesn't matter. Alright. So we can play out a swamp. We can wasteland this Eldrazi Temple. At least force them into using their Ancient Tomb for mana, so that if we do find a creature, we can catch up a little bit better. So far, so bad, though. This is going to be cracking for 5 this turn due to the card. Oh, no. They've got something else they want to do. Interesting. We've got Fell the Profane, which is a card we can cast at some point. Another Thought-Knot. Like, sure. We're just playing against Eldrazi from a decade ago here. Not the most exhilarating matchup for you lovely people to watch. Okay, so we get bashed for 10 next turn. I don't think we're coming back from there. We'll just concede and go to the sideboard. So, what do I like the look of here? Damping Sphere is fine. I think the Plague Engineer is actively useful for us. The Hymn to Turax, shredding our opponent's hand when they're going to be a deck that mulligans. Like, on average, an Eldrazi deck does not keep a 7-card hand. So... this is the sort of thing we want. Opposition Agent does nothing here, but it is a 3-drop. But I don't think we should expect double Chalice like that. We know the Vex and Baubles are no good either. So I would rather have probably a Opposition Agent over like something like a Turak, because white isn't going to be a colour our opponent has anyway. Maybe we get to kick this and take more cards. Maybe that's slightly better than Opposition Agent. Opposition Agent can stop them using their Eye of Ugin, but that's not really going to be a thing they're going to do if we've got like Damping Spheres in play or we're shredding their hand or doing stuff. So that shouldn't really matter. Would I like to have a Turak just in case we can do the double shred? The Turak can also get large if we are making them discard cards with Hymns and Thoughtseize. So maybe the Turak grows just enough that it can beat their creatures in combat. Alright, we're going to go with this configuration. This might not be the longest round of Magic the Gathering you've ever seen. Okay, so our opener has no mana to work on, so this is a mulligan. Okay, we can do Emperor of Bones plus Thoughtseize plus Bowmasters. Just... oh no, we have to get rid of one of these Dark Rituals, don't we, actually? I think that is fine. So we put this Dark Ritual on the bottom. The other option is to get rid of the Bowmasters so that we can turn 1 Emperor of Bones plus Thoughtseize. Then we exile the thing with Emperor of Bones, and then the following turn we can Dark Ritual to guarantee the activation of the Emperor of Bones. But I think I would rather just have cards that are going to work with mana. That could be... like, how good is Walkish Bowmasters going to be here is another question. It's just some bodies. Maybe we do go for the... getting rid of the Walkish Bowmasters there. Like, the other option is we play Emperor of Bones, Thoughtseize, and Bowmasters and get rid of the Shoulder's Edict. But I don't really want to get rid of a removal spell in an aggro matchup. I think it is the Bowmasters here. If it was a better creature, then I may be doing things slightly differently. Right, let's start Ritual. Our opponent didn't start with any of the selection creatures. They just have a hand that was worth keeping and didn't need anything fixing on. Right, let's take a peek. Chalice of the Void, Dismember, Kozilek's Command, Kozilek's Command. This hand doesn't seem that good to me. We could take the Chalice of the Void. This forces them into a Dismember on our guy, and then we're kind of left without any pressure. If we take the Dismember and just get the Emperor of Bones in, eventually they will be able to kill it with the Kozilek's Command. We will shut off his Dark Ritual in our hand. Do I think I can just go all the way with an Emperor of Bones, though? They don't even have a creature for us to take and then reanimate this turn. Let's have a think. We don't have any follow-up pressure. This will eventually kill our creature anyway. This will shut down a lot of what our deck wants to do, including a card in our hand. I think it has to be the Chalice here. And then we still play out the Emperor. We will not exile anything here. We want multiple types in graveyards for the purposes of our Barragoyf later on. Alright, this could be a tricky one. So it's probably going to be Cavern naming Eldrazi. Then they're going to play this Dismember and kill our creature. Might have a little think over there. They haven't drawn Once Upon a Time, because if they had, they would have fired that off by now. All right. Let's think about what they would be thinking about playing instead of just the Cavern of Souls Dismember line here. So they could be thinking about, what if they draw a Soul Land next turn? Is it worth losing 2 life as well as the Dismember life to make sure they can cast a 4-drop or a Kozilek's Command for 2 next turn? So they might have drawn a Soul Land and that's what they're thinking. Alternatively, they might have drawn an It the Herald's the End and think, do I want to get this creature in play or not? Alright, so they're just holding up the Dismember here in case we play anything juicier. We did draw a land, which is not unhelpful. I wonder if they'll take the 2 damage and then try and hold this Dismember for something we play in a second main phase. Obviously, we don't have anything we're playing in the second main phase, but that's a different problem. They don't have any threats, really. Like, the Kozilek's Command isn't really a threat. It can obviously find one, but they're going to have to sink a reasonable amount of mana into it unless they draw some more Soul Lands. But we need to draw something here. This person who asked in chat. This is a double elimination, I think. So there's prizes for X2, and it's a 6-round tournament, I think. So it's okay to take a loss. I'd rather not take a loss here, obviously. But the prizes for this tournament are based on record rather than standing, I believe. So it shouldn't matter when we take the losses necessarily, as long as we don't take too many of them. But at the moment, we're not really putting our foot down and doing anything. At this point, I wish we had the Bowmasters instead of the Dark Ritual, just because it's a card that we can play. But if we didn't hit a land drop, then we would have desperately needed this mana. So it's kind of an awkward trade-off. And sometimes you make the trade-off and you end up on the wrong side of it. All right, let's move this so I can see what it is. An Emperor of Bones. Yeah, I'll take an Emperor of Bones. Emperor of Bones can get back other Emperor of Bones as well. And we can do that next turn. an Eye of Ugin. So our opponent has the ability to Kozilek's Command over there. Because this will still reduce it by 2. So we are not feeling spectacular right now. It's open deck list, so our opponent knows this card is not tapping for any whites. There's no point holding this up, especially when they have wastelands who might want to do a Dark Ritual or something. If I exile this Emperor now, then they kill our creature, potentially, and we never get paid out on this one. If we wait till next turn, we can just exile this next turn and then try and get paid out that way. So I think we say no to this one for now. Right, we're going to see Kozilek's Command. They're probably just going to make some little guys here. Because we're not putting them under any meaningful pressure here. We're just going to get absolutely roasted here, truth be told. Yeah, they're just having a look at the top cards of their library. I think we can probably put this one to bed pretty soon. This is also the only deck in the format right now that runs Chalice of the Void, which is interesting. Even the mono-red prison decks are off of Chalice of the Void. It just doesn't do anything for them. They're better off with things like Vexing Bauble, so they can counter the things that counter their big plays. A Thought Not Seer. Right, we will Dark Ritual here. And we'll power out the Shoulder's Edict. And we'll name non-token creature, please. Non-token creature. So we will get the Thought Not Seer here. We draw a card and then they get to exile it though. It's a swamp. You don't get to exile it. Excellent. And then we can take this Thought Not Seer and bash our opponent with it if we want to. They do still have Kozilek's Command up because they have all these little guys. But if they use their Kozilek's Command and we can draw a Baragoyf, then we'll be fine. That card will absolutely slap in this situation. Alright. Come on. Alright, they're playing out the other Chalice. Sorry, the other Cabin. And they're committing to a Dismember on our poor little creature. Okay, our opponent's only on 8, so it doesn't take much for us to win from here necessarily. Like, we have Reanimates, they're good. Kozilek's Command, actually pretty good here. So let's take this Kozilek's Command. Goodbye. So they can fight it off in response, and they can scry and keep the card they actually want on top of their library. That's the smart play here. Devourer of Destiny. Let's do some counting, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I don't really want to play against a 6/6. So I guess we let them spin their wheels with a Kozilek's Command instead. There's no point keeping this land in hand given the nature of our deck, so we're just going to play it out. We're just looking for Baragoyf, really. That's going to do a lot of work here. Well, if you came to the stream to watch me get absolutely beaten up by some little colourless monsters, then you're obviously going to have a great time. Because that is very much the dirt we are in right now. Sowing Mycospawn. Yep, that's a pretty good one. If you're unfamiliar with this card, it is quite bananas. It's like, sometimes it's Plow Underman, sometimes it's make a million mana man. So this means their Kozilek's Command is going to be for a lot. Yeah, we just don't really have any good solutions here. So we can wasteland away their Cradle. We could wasteland their Eye of Ugin so they can't tutor anything. So we got what, 4, 5. So I think we have to hit the Eye here, because we don't want them just shooting an Eldrazi every turn. because we're definitely not beating that. I don't think we're beating anything at this point. Our deck has not really worked out for us. Alright, so they are tutoring one Eldrazi. It's a glaring Fleshraker. Okay, so that combined with Kozilek's Command is probably going to kill us in 1 or 2 turns. There's the Fleshraker. Yep, they have a Lotus Petal for good measure as well. This is worth 2 mana. We just have nothing going on here. Right, so getting in an attack first. Be my guest. So we should be mostly dead, I think. Our opponent is only on 4. Somehow, if we can draw 4 Bowmasters in 1 turn. But I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, so they're sacking a bunch of stuff. They crack this as well. They just make the Kozilek's Command for as big as possible because it refunds itself by getting the guys back anyway. They're not using the Petal as well. So the reason they're keeping the Petal is in case they draw another Myca Spawn and want to use that. But yeah, this will ping us for 6 more due to the Fleshraker and these triggers here. And we are having a bad time. This is a little bit reminiscent of when I played the European Legacy Masters with Mono Black, where I had a deck that was, in my testing, was incredibly favoured against basically all the blue-black decks, or all the blue decks really. And then I played nothing that was blue in the entire tournament. Hopefully that won't be today, but we'll see. Alright, we're on 5. They've got another Kozilek's Command. We can pack this one up. It feels like they're tapping for a Kozilek's Command. Let's hover that concede button. Alright, that's not a Kozilek's Command. We're losing another land. It's going to make it more difficult to come back here. They've got a Wasteland, so yeah. So now we're seeing the Plough Underman. I think we can probably call it a day there. Alright, that'll do for that one. So, we're going to go back to the deck tech here. I said I'd do the proper deck tech after round 1. I'll also just make sure that our opponent reports the result for us. So, this mono black deck has lots of tools that make it really good into the blue decks. Right, so the general plan is to Dark Ritual out something good, but we don't have to Dark Ritual out something good because we have some 1-drops here that shut down a bunch of decks. Obviously, doesn't shut down Eldrazi. Thoughtseize can poke a hole in a bunch of stuff. We've also got getting a Shadowy Backstreet just to get a little bit of more information about the top of our deck. So we've got a decent selection of 1-drops as well as just cycling a Troll to reanimate on turn 2. Because this is the only thing that naturally goes to the graveyard on its own, we're only running 3 reanimates because we don't want to get these stuck in our hand. So the plan is have a big creature when we need it, but then we can just sort of play a really strong fair game here that shuts down other people's fair game. So, you know, no counter spells, no graveyards, no searching their library, no drawing extra cards, and then we have like a good selection of removal, and we can just chunk away what our opponent does. And like I mentioned before, the Baragoyf is a really potent threat. We only want 2 of them because we're not fueling our graveyard that efficiently. We're not like the sort of the blue decks where they have all the cantrips and stuff so they can power this out early in terms of it being good power and toughness. This isn't really what you want to Dark Ritual out. Maybe we can Dark Ritual out and it'll be a 2-3 and then it can attack and get bigger. But most of the time we're going to be looking to Dark Ritual out things that just shut the game down. So in Legacy at the moment, I think you want to be playing some amount of stuff that gives you free wins. And Opposition Agent is very much that, and so is the Graveyard Hate stuff. Sometimes Vexing Bauble can be that too, but having those sorts of angles that you can approach the game with are really important. So if you look at the best decks, so you have the Blue-Black Reanimator deck, which obviously has, you know, putting an Archon of Cruelty into play on turn 2, which is a very easy way of winning a lot of games if you can manage to pull that off. And then you have the Cephalid Breakfast deck, which obviously has the I can win the game on turn 2 combo. Then you have the Nadu Zenith and Nadu Chord builds, which have, the Nadu combo, they can draw a bunch of cards and just become insurmountable with the amount of card advantage they have. So there's lots of different angles of decks that just have free wins. Another one, for example, is Mono Red Prison. They can just say, okay, you don't get to play the game because none of your lands work as early as turn 1. And then you have Mono Red Painter, which can just mill you out and have a combo. So having all these levers is really good. The only good decks that don't have straight up high win buttons are Blue-Black Tempo and the Eldrazi deck. Now, the Eldrazi deck kind of has some high win buttons in the fact that you can kill people on turn 2 with Glaring Fleshraker sometimes, which is bananas. So it does still have some of these levers. Sometimes you just get to double wasteland your opponent really, really early on with the Sowing Micah Spawn plus wasteland, and then your opponent's not getting anywhere from that point. So it has some not quite free wins as the same way as some other decks, but it is up there. Another deck that's in the sort of top tiers is the Doomsday deck, which again has a button that you can press and a card that says you win the game on it. So I think that's where you want to be right now in this Legacy format. Either playing the Tempo deck, which is just the best deck against a lot of things, or you want to be playing a deck that has some I-win buttons. So we're playing a deck that kind of has some I-win buttons, like I mentioned, but we can also play a really fair game that works into a lot of the sort of grindier blue decks, which is the most powerful thing in the format right now is, the blue-black core shell. Sideboard-wise, love Curse Totem in the Nadu meta right now. Card is sweet. I think it's a slept-on sideboard card, like Cradle Control as well as another deck that you just get to run over them with Curse Totem. Damping Sphere can do some stuff against the big banner decks. It also does stuff against Storm, so it's kind of putting double duty in our sideboard here. Plague Engineer is fine. We're not expecting lots and lots of decks where they have lots of creature types like that, but sometimes you'll run against the Nadu Elf build and you can strip them all out, or you take out a bunch of Noble Hierarchs or whatever, and it's good against Eldrazi Spawn. That's one of the reasons it's in there. Not that our Eldrazi matchup is saved by having a Plague Engineer, but it doesn't hurt. A bit more hand disruption. A pro-white creature, because we might struggle against the sort of like long blue-white control decks, where they're trying to make the game go a long time, disrupting us. We have some great tools into them, things like Orcish Bowmasters, and we can shut down their ability to get their lands running because they have a lot of fetch lands, because they're trying to cast loads of cantrips and then shuffle their library and all that sort of jazz. So we can get them out quite nicely with that. We also have the Vex and Bauble, and shutting off their graveyard is pretty reasonable in that matchup too, but just a little bit more helps. And then we got some Graveyard Hate because, the best deck in the format is Graveyard based. We had 3 Null Rods because I know there's a fair few Storm enthusiasts in this particular tournament. So this can help against them as well as being good against the Karnforge deck, which is probably the strongest combo deck in the format. Although I think Cephalid Breakfast, in my opinion, is probably the strongest one. But I think the Karnforge deck is putting up the best numbers right now. And we just have another opposition agent for when it's good, when it's Doomsday, when it's any sort of thing that's searching its library, whether it's Cradle Control, Natural Order decks, Green Sun Zenith decks, etc., etc. So we've kind of kitted out to beat like your blue-black decks, your Nadu decks, that sort of jam. Right, well, we're going to be a while waiting for the next round, so let's have a look at some more of these Foundations cards while I'm here, because I haven't seen very many of them myself. 4 mana, 4/2, flying. Yeah, it's not Legacy. 4 mana, 2/2. Nope, not going to read that one either. 3 mana, Planeswalker. Okay, this might be a thing. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on it. Okay, so you want to play some creatures out on turn 1 and 2 and then play this. Up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card, then discard a card. Unblockable creature, a bit of looting is fine. -2 to make a 2/1 is not great. You get an emblem. Whenever a player casts a spell, you get a 2/1 ninja. Okay, not particularly inspired by this one. There's a much better Kaito that already exists, the blue-black one in the ninjas. Alright, let's have a look at this one. 3 mana, 3/2, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. When it attacks, if you have Threshold, make an 8/8 octopus. Probably no good. Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. That's probably no good either. What's this? Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a fairy. 2 mana, 2/1 flyer that makes you more flyers. It's a wizard. Maybe this does something somewhere, but I'm not particularly enamored by it. Nice counterspell with a loot. Not good enough for Legacy, but cool card. Strix Lookout. 2 mana 1/2, paying to loot. No, thank you. 4 mana Mythic Sphinx. Flash. Okay, Flash helps it with it being a 4 mana card. When this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. Okay, so it attacks for Snapcaster activations. This card is alright. I don't know if it's good enough for Legacy though, but flash creatures are kind of interesting. Let's have a look. Abyssal Harvester, 3 mana, 3/2. So you can Dark Ritual it out, that's nice. Exile type creature card from a graveyard that was put there this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it except it's a nightmare. In addition to its other types, then exile all nightmare tokens. Okay, so whenever a creature dies, you can choose if you want it. Like, doesn't seem particularly great, to be honest, because you have to play this and also remove a creature. That's a lot of mana to have going in one turn in Legacy format, really. So you have to play this, then you have to remove something, then you get something. I don't know, it just seems too slow. 6 mana, not looking at that. 4 mana, Mills, but then doesn't really do anything exciting. It's a pretty sweet art, Blasphemous Edict. You may pay black, run the spell's mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. Okay, so that's not really what we're looking at here. 5 mana Vampire Knight. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. There's lots of effects like this that exist, and none of them are very good. Being on a 5/5 flying Death Touch body might mean that it's okay to have this sort of effect, but it's going to be a bit of a fun deck rather than a top-tier competitive deck. So it's going to be like playing vampires where you also have an infinite combo that wins the game in it, rather than having like a deck built around this specifically. Obviously, vampires not great in Legacy, but every now and then I like to jam it. We got here some 4 mana 3/4 menace. Whenever this creature attacks, there's nah, that's no good. All right, let's keep going. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. Whenever another attacker. No, that's no good. It has to attack before it does anything. It's 5 mana. It dies to a bunch of stuff. When this creature dies, if it wasn't a demon, return it to the battlefield on its own control with 2+1/+1 counters on it. It's a demon in addition to its other types. So what? That's a 3 mana 4/3 that gives you 1 sack. That's not great. Rats. Create tapped 1/1 black rat for each creature card in your graveyard, and it has flashback. So this is something you could mill and get some value out of. I don't know. This is something that appeals to me a little bit. I am a person who has played Worm Harvest from time to time. This is kind of in that ballpark, really, where you don't have to have this expensive Worm Harvest card in your deck. I don't know, but this obviously requires you to have a very specific setup in your deck to make this work. But you never know. A lot of 1/1s that you can sacrifice to do stuff with might be something. When this creature dies, create a 1/1 black and green insect. So it's Doom Traveler. It's fine, but not for Legacy, really. Although it is in the right colours to maybe be useful and get some stuff. But I think it's Nesting Shambler already exists, which is just this but better. 9 Lives Familiar enters with 8 revival counters on it when you cast it. When this creature dies, if it had a revival counter on it, return to the battlefield with 1 fewer revival counters. So you could play this out, and you could sack it a bunch for something. I wonder if there's something where you just be happy to have 3 mana to sacrifice a creature like 9 times or whatever. Maybe that's something. I don't know. Like this plus Goblin Bombardment is 9 damage. And I do love Goblin Bombardment. Oh, here's the next end step, right? Counter at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, that's too bad. Okay. No, get out of here. Reading. It's not good enough. Whenever this creature attacks, do something boring. Tiny Bones. Whenever an opponent discards a card, exile a card from that graveyard with stash counter on it. You may play cards you don't own. Stash counters, whatever. It's not really very exciting. A Mind Rot upgrade. That's actually pretty nice. Not for Legacy, obviously, but just in general. That's a cool card. Because Mind Rot sometimes is not going to get you where you need to be. Because your opponent might have already played a bunch of stuff out. So this is, okay, if they've played all the cards out of their hand before you get to Mind Rot them, they're probably going to have lots of little things, so you get to kill it. And if they haven't played a lot of cards out, like a lot of creatures you can kill, then you're going to be able to make a discard. So it's kind of a nice design. I think that. Not for Legacy, but I can still appreciate some card design for other formats. Probably limited more than anything, but still. Sacrifice creature, do some boring stuff. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so we have ourselves another Blood Artist. There's probably enough Blood Artist stuff that you can do something pretty wild with them. I wonder. But is this better than something like a Broadside Bombardiers? Obviously, different colours, but... Sorry, not Broadside Bombardiers. Goblin Bombardment. Because Goblin Bombardment allows you to ping off creatures and you can really get people in the lock. A zombie. If you watch my Halloween videos, you know I like to try and play zombies every Halloween. This seems alright. Ward. The ward cost is nothing here. Your opponent's happily going to pay that. But it means that at least if they're Caracasing it, there's a cost. You may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. Okay, that does some stuff. That seems fine. Might play that one. Whenever you attack, target boring. Okay, another 1 mana burn spell. This one doesn't target, so it gets through the Wandering Protection. Actually, no, it doesn't, because they have protection, so they can't be dealt damage by, right? Okay. It can stop them being... If they have something where they want to be... Where they can't be targeted, there's not really that much of that sort of stuff. Like, Veil of Summer is the only thing you can think of. But it's another burn spell, is the main thing. So, a 1 mana, 3 damage spell. When I played burn last time, the 3 mana burn spell you have were a little bit awkward. I couldn't quite get things to work the way I wanted to. So there is that. Bulk up, not looking at doing anything with that. Let me just check in on the tournament to make sure things are going okay. And I'm not supposed to be looking at anything now. Alright. What else we got in here? Chandra, 7 mana, not reading that. 3 mana, electricity, nope, that's no good. Borders... 6 mana, not looking at that. Okay, Kellen. Oh, sorry, my mouse wheel's a bit knackered. Kellen, this is a fairy, so that's good. It's kind of like your whole Figure of Destiny type jam. This seems like this into Spellstarter Sprite is a real curve if your opponent doesn't play creatures out. And Legacy is quite creature heavy right now, so hard to say. But the fact that you can activate its ability on your opponent's turn, it's not like sorcery speed restricted, it's pretty good. So what does it do? When you deal combat damage, exile top card. So you get to Ragavan them once you up it once, and then you up it again against double strike. Okay, that's quite a big hitter if you can keep your opponent off of balance around it. So, you know, some burn spells for little creatures, some Spellstarter Sprites, that sort of thing. I don't know, maybe there's something in that. Strongbox Raider, Slumbering Cerberus. Nope. Sear Slicer Goblin. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, create a 1/1 red goblin. This is actually pretty good for the goblin decks. They're quite... It's within the realms of the cards that you might see in the goblin decks. 5 mana, source you control, deal damage to opponent or permanent. Opponent controls, deals double. So it's like a flying Torbrand type thing. I guess that's kind of cool. I don't think it's going to be a thing you want to play in Legacy, but I don't know. Everyone likes their dragons. Alright, onto green cards. When this creature enters exile, that's a cool design. I don't think cards good for Legacy, obviously, but it's a cool design. Alright, a bunch of stuff here that costs a lot of mana. Not really looking into these things. Loot. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. 6 mana activate ability. That's no good. Nickeltooth pack. Hydra enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Landfall, double the number of counters on it. This doesn't take much to get very large, but it is just a boring large creature. And I don't know if you want just a boring large creature. Possibly, I don't know. But I think I've seen another card that's probably in the Jumpstart section, which is a little bit like this, but better. But it does have trample, so it's a big creature that can get through. Maybe you want this as like a weird Green Sun Zenith target. Although, part of me wants to record a video where I play this and then cast Scapeshift the next turn and just kill my opponent. That might be pretty cool. Maybe we'll try that on the channel. I'll play this next turn, fetch land. So this goes up to 2, crack it goes up to 4, then you Scapeshift, and it goes up to 8, 16, 32, 64. I don't know. That sounds dumb and fun. I might try that out. I don't think it's good, but it's fun. Spinner of Souls. Whenever another... Why is this spider a 4/3? Spiders are supposed to have bigger butts than fronts, I thought. Anyway, Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card into your hand. Okay, so your guys die, you get some stuff. Maybe the way to use that is some kind of like sack outlet. So you sack a creature and then you find some more. If you had a bunch of like zeros in your deck, like Memnites and stuff, you could like sack and then play some more. If you were sacking them to something that produces mana, like Phyrexian and Altar, maybe you can actually start playing some of these things. I don't know. 6 mana, worm. I do like worms. Whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, put damage plus... When you may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from other permanents. From other creatures. Okay, other creatures is the big thing here. So you can't take impending counters off. You can't take Dark Depths counters. Nope, not interested. Sylvan Scavenging. Beginning of your end step. Make a guy if you control a big creature. Or put a +1/+1 counter. That doesn't seem great. Some kind of spider. Alicia. First strike. +1/+1 counter on it. When it attacks. So it attacks at a 3/3 first striker. That's okay-ish. Beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power. Okay. That's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Anthem. 2 mana Anthem is good. Whether or not it's good for Legacy, I doubt it because you don't really see any Anthem effects. 4 mana attacks, does something, not reading that. Whenever this creature attacks, enters or attacks, loot. Okay. +1/+1 and has Death Touch as long as there are 7 or more cards in your library. I don't know why you would play this instead of playing Baleful Strix, so it's no good. 4 mana legendary creature, hexproof from instants. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, it gets +1/+1 and menace. It's just a guy. It's pretty boring. It's just a creature. Fiendish Panda. I'm going to read this, even though I don't think it's going to be good, because I like the look of it. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When this creature dies, return target non-bear creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. Just a guy, but some pretty funky art, though. Coma. That's just a worse Coma than the old one, so don't look at that. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. Exile target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, or make a 1/1. Doesn't seem great. I do like birds. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of birds. But 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer that then makes you have to do other stuff to get paid out seems no good. 6 mana, this is counterable. No. Perforating Artist. Death Touch, 3/2. Raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent of their choice or discards a card. That's a cool card. I don't necessarily think it's something I want to be playing in Legacy. But maybe you'll try and play some sort of Machine Head deck, bring it back from the olden days, and this would fit right into that sort of shell. What are we looking at next? Let me just check to make sure that how our rounds are getting on, actually. Where is it? Round 2. We have pairings for round 2, do we? Okay, so I guess I should stop doing that. Jaffa. Let's have a quick look to see what they're playing. What are you running, opponent? Alright, mono red. This is going to be better for us than the Eldrazi. It's still not exactly what we want to be playing into, but it's fine. They got some good removal here, but they've got a Fury that we can reanimate and all that sort of jazz. Alright, let's work on getting this game up and running. So our opponents should be sending us a request, I believe. Yes, this is the boring admin part of the league, I'm afraid. Jaffa. Okay. Right, so just going to add them onto this. I know I don't have 2 screens and it's annoying. Alright. So it says they're not online. Interesting. Alright. We might watch somebody else's game as well after this one, depending on how it goes. But it's a pretty stacked tournament with some pretty good players in, so we'll see how we fare. Because our opponent is first in the pairings here, it means they're the one that's supposed to create the game, so we're kind of waiting on them again. Alright, so they said they've made a rune, so I just got to go and find it now. Here we go. I cannot join this game. Okay. Deck required. Okay, let's make sure we get the right one. Showcase mono black. Sounds right. The right one. I cannot join the game. Okay. I need to message them. Sorry about this, everyone. All right, sorted. On the play, not bad. What does our hand do? So we know our opponent's playing mono red. So we could play Dark Ritual, cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm, play Emperor of Bones. That seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, I think we keep this one. We got some removal. The Emperor can take out the Troll of Khazad-dûm on turn 2 if we want to, rather than doing it on turn 1. We will need to find a little bit more mana somewhere along the lines here. Barrow-goyf, not a great thing to ramp out here. It's not going to be very large. I guess we could make, if we ramp out the Barrow-goyf on turn 1, it will be a 1-2. We can immediately cycle the Troll of Khazad-dûm on turn 2, so it attacks as a 2-3. That isn't appreciably better than just playing the Emperor of Bones. And also, this means once loads of resources have been traded, then we play the Barrow-goyf. Let's get the Emperor of Bones out. Oh, we can't cast that. We are cycling it. Alright, let's go and get ourselves a swamp because our opponent is a mono-red deck. I'm not going to exile this now, because we don't want to exile this until we can reanimate it next turn. And also we might draw an actual factual reanimate. Mountain from our opponent. And nothing. That's pretty good for us. Look at that. Paid out for the play there. Let's bring back our massive friend. We don't need to exile anything. We want to have cards in our graveyard here so that our Barrow-goyf is bigger. So now we are quite far ahead, just with a lot of power in play. Our opponent didn't have a turn 1 play, so that's good news for us. A City of Traitors. So Blood Moon effects aren't something we care about. Broadside Bombardier we can certainly beat from where we're at right now. Fable the Mirror Breaker, we can just pop this with a Fatal Push and carry on attacking. Wasteland. All right, we're just putting our opponent right in the dirt here. Do we give our opponent a chance? We could pump up our Emperor of Bones here. But I think we want to just mana down our opponent out. So we kill this. We Wasteland their City of Traitors. Just bash. Don't want to take anything out here. We'll take out our land. It doesn't really matter. We already have a land in our graveyard anyway. Bashing for 8 here. Our opponent's down to very few resources. And we can hopefully steamroller them. Right, Gemstone Caverns. And a mountain. Alright, they've scooped it up. So the whole play of not reanimating my troll, not exiling my troll, was absolutely paid out there, which is good to see. So what would I like in a matchup like this? So our opponent has some number of artifacts we might be interested in interfering with, but not as many as you would think. The Vexing Bauble is a weird one. Like, they do play... Actually, we can just check their exact list, can't we? Let's have a look. How many 0-drops? Just the Chrome Moxes. They're not running Lotus Petals here. I'm not keeping... So Vexing Bauble can shut down Fury, and it can shut down Chrome Mox. But our opponent is also running their own Vexing Baubles. So I don't think we want Vexing Baubles in our list here. So what is better than Vexing Bauble here? Taking out our opponent's resources when they're a low resource deck anyway is something I'm interested in, so I don't mind that. The Plague Engineer might have some use. Let's have a look. No, they're not playing any of the goblins, so that's not really very useful. Other than the fact it is a creature that has Death Touch, which sometimes means that's good enough to just get in front of a big Lalia. So they're going to be boarding in some... Interesting, got ley lines here. They don't have Ghost Vacuum. Because the Lalia combo is with the Ghost Vacuum, where you keep exiling your own graveyard to get this going. But I guess... I don't know. So, they're probably boarding out their Blood Moons as well. What would I like as an additional card here? Just a threat is fine. I think the Death Touch threat is good. Do I want to change any of these things? Bowmasters is not amazing here, but it does mess with our opponent's ability to loot with their Fable. And it can sometimes become a random blocker. I don't think we want Damping Spheres. Our opponent's going to be... Their Soul Rings, their Soul Land, sorry, matter in like turn 1 and 2. So if we spend our turn 2 playing this out, they probably don't care at that point anyway. They're not really searching their library, so the opposite changes aren't doing very much. Would I prefer a Turak? I don't think so. This guy with Flash means it can jump in and just be a removal spell. Alright, we're going to submit like this. Could be relatively play-draw dependent, this matchup. I did consider playing Nadu in this tournament because I think Nadu is incredibly strong. But... I did not think anyone would want to watch me click through Nardo combos, so I thought I'd do you lovely people a favour and play something a little bit spicy, so it's enjoyable to see. Obviously, we're mulligan this hand, we've got no lands. A little bit spicier, but has some nice utility to it. Alright. What are we looking at here? How much do I feel that I want this reanimate? So, reanimating the Troll of Khazad-dûm is pretty big news. But, if our opponent is... going to mess with our graveyard with the ley lines we know are in their sideboard, do we just throw away this reanimate? So we're not playing into that. Or is the upside of having a 6-5 against our opponent's deck that can't really kill a 6-5 too high? I think we are going to keep the 6-5 plan alive here. Right, they did start with the ley line. Sure. But we can still reanimate our opponent's creatures. Volcanic Fissure, untapped. A Chrome Mox. Okay. We got a Spirit Guide to go alongside it as well. Fable Mirror Breaker. So our opponents put a lot of resources into making this happen. So I would like to kill their creature, I think is the correct play here. It's annoying to trade a card for like half a card here. The other option is to wasteland, but then we're just giving them a treasure and it kind of evens out anyway, except we take 2 damage. Ancient Tomb. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I get it. You hate those fables and you want to break them. Or no, you want to break the mirrors, not the fables. What are we talking about? Okay. We could just start wastestanding our opponent. That doesn't feel spectacular, truth be told. Because if we wasteland this, they still have access to 3 mana and most of their best plays are 3-drops. So I think we're going to get on board with an Emperor and try and punish this Ancient Tomb that our opponent has. We can always fire off a double wasteland if we want to. If our opponent discards any exciting creatures, like a Fury that we know is in their deck, or a Pyrogoyf. Pyrogoyf not so good with Leyline though. But if they have a Fury, we can bring that back. Another reason why I don't like getting rid of our reanimate plan. Because we can just hit them with some discard, bring back their scariest monster, win game. Right, this Reflection of Kiki-Jiki does threaten to do some pretty gross things. Okay, we can exile their Simian Spirit Guide. That's something. Right. They are deading our creature. So they are running on empty over there. Do I want to spend my turn wastestanding our opponent's 2 lands? Or do I want to try and get on board with something? An opposition agent. That doesn't really matter that much. If we want to play the Doughty Voidwalker, we can cycle this troll and play the Doughty Voidwalker. And that is acceptable. We don't have a removal spell for this Reflection, so they're just going to be able to have their way with us on that front. Do we want to have a double wasteland plan? We could wasteland these 2 lands, leave our opponent with 3 mana still, and as we discussed, 3 mana is the break point for a lot of the good stuff in their deck. So I think the correct play here is to cycle the troll and just play a Doughty Voidwalker. Now, Doughty Voidwalker, not great at blocking. It's not known for its blocking skills, but we can pressure our opponent's life total here, which is why we played the Emperor of Bones out last turn as well. They are running on Fumes and an Ancient Tomb. They do have Fable though, and once you have 2 Fables, you can copy the other Fable a bunch, and it's kind of like a Splinter Twin where you just pay X and get X 2/2s. So we'd like to find some mana here. Oh, sorry, not mana, removal. Sorry. Okay. They play their land out. Another Troll of Khazad-dûm. That's not really the one I wanted here. So, hitting our opponent with Wastelands is actively good for us. Because it stops the amount of creatures they can produce and bash us down with. Because if they create them now, they don't do anything. Because these get sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. So they can make a bunch of guys and it won't matter. So we got 2 damage off of our opponent there. We can put them to 3. They can make 3 2/2s. That's a lot. We're going to need to find something on our next turn. We can cycle this troll. I could reanimate a Simian Spirit Guide. That gives us slightly more damage on the backswing, but it costs us 3 life. I really don't think that's worth it. We've already played a land, so we don't need to cycle this now, so I think we just pass. So in our end step, they're probably going to make 3 2/2s. So this is the combo I was mentioning. So they copy this. This one has haste, and it won't die until the next end step. They copy the other one, and then they copy 1 more. Oh, sorry, they got treasures. They can copy 2 more. This is a lot of damage. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that put us to 2. 2 is not the number I wanted to be on. I'll tell you that much. Do any of these help? We have a Sundering Eruption that we can get back. I don't think destroying our opponent's land is going to matter when they've got all of these guys. Be curious to see if they do attack with all of them. They don't need to. They could just leave one of the reflections back to do the same thing next turn. Alright. They're choosing to produce a treasure token rather than have the mana up this turn. That means that our opponent doesn't have a play for this turn necessarily. And they just want to have some treasures here. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 of them aren't attacking, so that's 7. That's 14. Alright, I did do my maths and we are still alive. If you can call this living. Should have just played Dark Depths. Alright. You can put all these sacrifice triggers on the stack. We will cycle our troll. Just get a regular swamp. We're just thinning our deck slightly and making sure that we have our third land drop for next turn. Alright, how are we besting our opponent here? It probably has to be via game 3, I would imagine. A reanimate. That's not really going to do it for us, is it? So I think we can scoot this one up. Our opponent just has lethal attacks. Alright, we're on the play though. Being on the play makes quite a big difference here. I like how we sideboard. We're just going to go in again. So yeah, we can still name things like goblins for the hands like that. And shut them down. Make it so they just have some 1/1s. That's a lot less scary, and we get to gobble some stuff up in combat as well. Alright, we're on the play. What does our hand do here? We have this reanimate that might not be any good. We have this fellow profane that isn't very good. This Orchard Masters, which is pretty low value in this matchup. So let's just go and get a hand that does a bit more. This does lots of stuff, but also doesn't do anything. So we have to mulligan this. Okay, this is better for us. I think we keep this. I would like Swamp. Wasteland, Wasteland. 2 of these cards. 2 is so many. We get rid of this. The troll is better than a land as long as we have our initial starting land. Are we getting rid of a wasteland, or do we want to just try and double wasteland our opponent? Our opponent's kept 7, so I don't think I want to double wasteland. I would rather have the troll and have that option. Lay on the void, sure. Again, we're not a heavy graveyard deck, so it doesn't actually matter that much for us. We have 3 reanimates. Not having any Vada Sky is a little bit awkward. Shadow Skull tapped. That does make me want to wasteland them. Chrome Mox. Okay. So the reason they're doing this is so that they can play around us discarding as Chrome Mox from their hand. Do I want a Shadowy Backstreet? I don't think so. Just take the Swamp here. Plague Engineer. So are we getting on board with an Emperor of Bones into what is quite clearly dead and gone, or are we just going to wasteland our opponent and try and make them drink a big glass full of dirt? Let's put them in the dirt. Well, they're already 2 cards down via the Chrome Mox and the Leyline. So they did keep us 7, but they've already spent quite a lot of resources. I have to imagine they have another land. I don't think you just keep land Chromox in your deck that needs to hit 3 drops and has a bunch of soul lands and is 50% mana. Yep, there we go. So there's another Chromox. So our opponent's spending a lot of resources here. Pyroglyph underneath it, sure. A broadside bombardiers. Okay. We can't kill this yet because the Fatal Push doesn't work. I guess we could have wastelanded in their upkeep. That would have been a slightly better play. But would have opened up some lines for them in terms of having 2 mana up. But I don't think that actually matters. We know their deck, and we know that wasn't the problem. Yeah, we could have avoided that. So, are we just playing out the bone zone here, or are we just going for the Dalthy? I think it's the Dalthy. It hits harder, so we can trade a little bit better. Obviously, trading with this broadside isn't the best. And if they want to kill it right now, they're going to have to sacrifice one of their pieces of mana, which is a big deal. All right. Yeah, if we'd have saved that wasteland to our opponent's upkeep, we'd have been in a much better spot. Him to Turak. All right, let's him our opponent, I think, makes more sense here. If they have something like a Fury, then we can just put it in with the Dalthy Voidwalker immediately. What do we get? The One Ring and Pyroglyph. Pyroglyph is very small. The One Ring, though. The One Ring is a very good Magic the Gathering card. If we play the One Ring, though, we have no way of removing the One Ring ourselves. So we could get in a dicey situation, given what our opponent's got. But they have nothing here. We should be able to win. Yeah, I reckon we can win with this One Ring. Right, let's draw some cards. An Orcish Bowmasters, sure. So if we draw a Dark Ritual and a land, we can kill the the Bombardiers. We can also Bowmasters ping our own token. Interesting they played this against them when it could have been damage. And also 1/1s that they could fling with the broadside. I think I would have held that in hand myself. So we need to get this broadside off the board. We have a way of doing that. Can we draw some land? We can draw some land. So we could wasteland and fatal push this, but we do need to get on board. I think we can probably afford to go a little bit slower. Sure. So if we wasteland them off of a red source here, we will leave them with a legendary one in case they draw other legendary permanents. This turns on the fatal push. The alternative here is to use a Shoulder's Edict to be more mana efficient, but the problem with doing that is this is a really nice catch-all that we don't need to have Revolt for. Right, let's get rid of the Bombardiers. We may be getting in a situation where we reanimate our opponent's Bombardiers with a reanimate so that we can fling our own One Ring, which would be a real chef's kiss moment. I hope you'll get to see, because that might mean we win the game, as well as it just being really sweet. All right, they got City of Traitors. It's over to us. We're getting to a situation where we have to decide what we're doing with the One Ring a little bit. We can't just keep ticking this up. A Dark Ritual. That does sound like I'm going to keep ticking up now, doesn't it? So you can deploy a bunch of stuff here. Okay, I like the Wasteland. So how much money I get? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we'll get this Emperor of Bones out. We will get this Bowmasters out. Ping our opponent for 1 here. And I think I will Wasteland here. Do we take out their 2 mana? So this takes them off of Fury as a spell. If we hit this, they're still closer to Fury. I think we hit the Sekenzen still because they need 2 draws here to make something. We'll take the red mana, and if they play another land, they lose their city. So next turn we can use the Emperor of Bones to exile their Broadside Bombardiers. And then we can fling the One Ring after we've drawn 4 cards with it. And from that point, I think we should be able to win because we just have way more resources than our opponent does. Alright. 3 mana. Simian Spirit Guide. Oh dear, oh dear. It's not where our opponent wants to be. Alright, we take some damage here. But that's A-okay. We have so many things here now. We can kind of just have everything we want. So 3 mana, 4/5 mana. I would quite like to get rid of the One Ring this turn. Would I like to lose 3 life to do it? I think so. Pyroglyph isn't very big. Let's just get back this Broadside Bombardiers. Busted cards are busted, right? So now we can Dark Ritual here. That gives us 4 mana total. We could push. We could... we have so many things we can do here, right? We just... Our life is great right now. We will start exiling cards now to make sure that they're... Pyroglyph can't deal us lethal damage. Right, let's attack with these. Do I care if this dies? Do we want to fatal push this now? Right, let's target our opponent. Let's sacrifice this One Ring. Stone our opponent for 4. Let me just push this guy now. We should have attacked with the Bowmasters, actually. But this does give us something if they draw another Sekenzen. I don't know if they're running multiple Sekenzens, but we should have just attacked this. We've missed 1 point of damage. It doesn't matter in terms of the amount of damage we're dealing our opponent each turn. We've got 7 cards in hand. It was just a case of having my diamond shoes too tight there. Okay. What would you like to do here, opponent? You've got 1 card. So they had to spend so many resources for this, and we just took away our opponent's resources and then just used them against them. The power of Doughty Voidwalker. Alright, we've got the GGs in chat. Alright, I have to just make sure my opponent puts the result in because I can't, due to the way that I've logged in on a tournament thing. It's a bit weird and messed up. So, there is that. Bear with me 1 second. Alright, so we managed to get a nice win there. That is on the board. We're not going into the O2 drop, but it's a pretty strong tournament. So going O2 drop in a tournament like this isn't shameful, you know, when you've got people like Reduke and stuff in your tournament, and it's only like 50 players. The average quality of players is certainly higher than a lot of other tournaments. Alright, let's go back to talking about some of these cards. We'll finish doing this one, and then we'll have a look at the Jumpstart, and then between the next rounds we'll watch some other people's matches. So we have got anything here that looks good. 1 mana artifact, but okay, no, it's no good. 5 mana artifact, not reading that one. Leyline Axe. I don't think this is good for Legacy, but it's a weird design that's going to really annoy people in Standard, I'm sure. Scrawling Crawler. Now this is a card I like. Is it good? I don't know. Am I going to play a silly deck with it on the channel? Probably. So this is a 3 mana, 3/2, beginning of your upkeep. Each player draws a card. Whenever opponent draws a card, that player loses 1 life. So this triggers off of any draw your opponent has. So you can play a critical mass of these effects and really annoy your opponent, which is what I like doing. Soulstone Sanctuary. Okay, it's just a land, isn't it? There's a better version of this from one of the Zendikar sets, I think. Although this has vigilance, but that's probably not that relevant. These are the same cards, but borderless. Right? Yes, okay. Everyone knows about the Sire of 7 Deaths. I don't need to talk about that one. I think this will see play in some Eldrazi decks as something to tutor for. Like, instead of the one of Null Drifter, I think this is better than that. Alright, let's have a look at some Jumpstart. These cards are going to be more powerful because they're not standard legal, if I remember correctly. So there's going to be more legacy hits in here. What about this one? Or another enchantment controls until end of turn. Okay, that's not very exciting. Generous Pup, 2-mana dog. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. This ability only triggers once each turn. So you have to find ways of putting counters on this. Not interested. Another Soul Warden, but this is only for your creatures, so less good than other Soul Wardens, so not playable. Scry 2, draw 2, but costs a lot. Nope, not interested in these things. Wiggly Grub. Dies, creates some more things. I do like things that die and create more things. This one, Revoke Demise. Okay, so it's a 3-mana reanimation spell or a 5-mana reanimation spell, depending on what you're reanimating. No good. This one, 3-mana, 2/3, pumps your goblins. Until end of turn, another target goblin you control gains flying, and when it deals combat damage, sacrifice it. This card will probably see play in some of the goblin decks. The evasion is really key, just jumping a lackey. It only needs to hit once to do its job. I know some of the people who are actual goblin experts have been talking about this one a little bit as a niche but interesting card to have. Frontline Heroism. What is this? 3-mana. When it enters, makes a single soldier. So it's a 3-mana 1/1. Whenever you cast a spell that targets any single creature you control. No. Rubbish. Make some goblins, but it is an instant speed goblin maker, but I don't think this is where you want to be. I could see a world where you have a goblin deck that goes really low to the ground with loads of tokens, and then this maybe is a thing that can do something if you can leverage extra tokens like the Runveld Horde Master style lists, but I don't think this is good enough, personally, but I wouldn't mind seeing someone try it. 4-mana, 3/4, Trample, Exert. It copies something. Okay. No. If I had Haste, then we're talking. 4-mana, 1-mana, go for it. Search library for basic land, put in your hand. Nope, no good. Scythe Cat. Now this is a card that is going to see some play. So it's a 2-mana, 2/2 Trample. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. If this is the second time that ability is resolved this turn, double the number of counters on it. So this just really pops off with a fetch hand. It's a lot like that Hydra that I mentioned before. We'll probably play them both in a cool landfall deck with Scape Shift on the channel. That might not be very good, but I think the Scythe Cat Cub itself is actually pretty good for the decks that want it, like the Cradle Control decks, where you put the Springheart Nantuko on a Dryad Arbor and just absolutely pop off. What else we got here? Historian Symbiote. No, none of these things. 2-mana spell, 2-mana. That might be good. Attacks. Nope, no good. Shardless Outsider. Basic landsliding is cool, but this being a common, might mean something for pauper people, but that's not me. I play Legacy and Pre-Modern, and that's about it. BG Control enters, draw a card. I'm sure this card already existed from Scourge. Alright. New cards, guest artists. Okay, let's have a look at some of these. Vigilance. A 2-mana, 2/2 Vigilance. Whenever target spell that targets put a counter on it, remove a counter, draw a card. Okay, that's kind of cool. I don't know where you're going to be targeting it that much, though. And it is spell, so it's not spell or ability, so you can just have something like a Nomads and Core. That'd be really cool. Pretty broken, actually, so good job they didn't do that, I guess. 3-mana, 1/1. When you cast your first enchantment, create a 2/2 enchantment. If you get some more enchantments, then your stuff gets bigger. Whatever. 4-mana, legendary, Ajani Pride Mage, I guess. Some kind of horse. Whenever you cast a Pegasus, Unicorn, or Horse creature spell, copy it. So a friend of mine a long time ago was very obsessed with horses. A person at the local store. I'm pretty sure he tried to make a horse cube and then realised there wasn't enough horses. And then he made a 1-drop cube. And then he made a cats and dogs cube. And you get the idea of the kind of human being that was. Alright. What else we got here? Erdnan. 2-mana, 1/1. Enters as a 2/2 most of the time, I guess. You attack target tank creature with a +1/+1 and gets first strike. That's pretty boring. I don't really like putting counters on stuff. It's not very exciting to me. 4 mana guy, 3 mana. What does this do? It comes tap. Target player mills cards equal to its power. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard or activate an ability of a card in your graveyard, draw a card and put a counter on it. Okay, this is really cool as a design. Now, is it good enough? I don't know, but this card is really sweet. So you can mill a bunch of stuff from your own deck and then power out its ability. And then maybe you can then turn it on your opponent afterwards when it gets big enough. It is a legendary creature, which is a problem. You need a way to untap it to really sort of maximize it, though. What else are we looking at? Another 3 mana guy. Maybe that does something. Let's have a look. Enters, draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. Okay. Sorry, I just got a message there that I need to answer. Sorry, I'm just responding to something. Alright, so target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power this turn. Okay, that's not the exciting part of this, I guess, but the draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. So this can come in for 3 mana and draw you a lot of cards. Now you need to have some like mediocre creatures in your deck, but I like it. I like this card. I'm not sure how I feel about the art on this though. It is a bit weird, but still, this card is something I might try and play with on the channel at some point. Same with this Neardeeve, whatever it's called. All right, what have we got here? Poljamar, 6 mana, doesn't have a way of making it cheaper. I'm not going to read the rest of it. What is this? 4 mana, 4/5. Oh, someone's in the chat. Cub with Nadu. Yes, the Cub was pretty good with Nadu. In my opinion, I don't expect we'll have Nadu this time next year being legal in Legacy. That's my prediction. What does this do? Enters tapped. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it didn't die, scry 1 and put a counter on this. Whenever it's attacked, you may pay mana. When you do, target tank creature can't be blocked. That's a lot just to make the Ninja Turtle pun, isn't it? All right. And I can't believe I had to read through all that. Gorgon Assassin, 1/3, Death Touch. You can attack into anything. When it attacks, you make a snake with Death Touch. Not tapped and attacking, though. Turn target. Whenever one or more Gorgons or snakes you control deal combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. I don't know. It's interesting. Not sure how I feel about this whole anime art style for all of these cards. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is good enough. What about this? 3 mana. Sacrifice another creature or artifact. Put a counter on this card. If sacrificed opponent was a treasure, gains lifelink until end of turn. Activate end is a sorcery. This is no good. Big Vampire Insect. The type line alone makes me want to play this card. What we got here? 4 mana. Also, why is it a stag beetle rather than like a mosquito or something, right? That makes no sense to me. If this was a mosquito, that would make sense. Anyway. Flying Death Touch. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 insect. Whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm you control attacks, you drain 1. Okay, so you only get creatures if your opponent is willing to play creatures and oblige you. That's no good. Also, 2/2 for 4 mana. What is this? 2015? Come on. Alright, what does this do? Gain life, does some stuff. Yeah. This looks sweet. I quite like this art. 3 mana, 3/2. Can't block. When it dies, create Jumble Bones. A legendary 2/2 skeleton creature with this creature can't block. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, return target card named thingy from to your hand. Okay, so you can't just infinite loop this with sacrifices. Okay, but you sacrifice this to Phyrexian Altar. Get 1 mana. Sacrifice the other guy, get another mana. Play this guy, so you only for 1 mana. You sack it. Okay, so if you had a way of reducing the cost of this at all, maybe you could do something, but that sounds like a lot of hoops to do something that's not really good enough for Legacy. I'm just going to check the pairings to make sure we're not on round 3 or anything. Alright, I'll carry on looking at these funny cards. 4 mana, Human Rogue, that's a relevant creature type. Creatures. No, no good. Not reading the rest of that. 3 mana, 4/2, trample, exert. The top card of your library until no. Cleon, double strike, 2/2. What does this do? Whenever one or more goblins you control attack, create a 1/1 red goblin tapped and attacking. Whenever another creature you control enters, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so it's kind of like a weird goblin war boss type thing, whatever it's called, Legion war boss, but also has a nice bit of pandemonium type stuff in it. Or what was the card? Was it Koth? Was that the one that used to do that pings people for 1? I can't remember now. But this seems okay. I would imagine some goblin players would be interested. Maybe it goes in that like really low to the ground one that we mentioned before. 3 mana, 2/3 haste. Okay, that's a good start. It gets to attack the turn you play it. Whenever one or more non-warriors you control... Sorry, whenever one or more warriors, including itself, control, attack a player, target creature that player control becomes a coward. So you can kind of make this unblockable. Attacking warriors you control get +X +0X is a number of... Okay, so it's a 3/3 that is hard to block. It's worse than Lilia, so it's probably not good enough. If this was non-legendary, it might be better. But I understand why it's legendary. Flavor is a thing. What is this? 2 mana, 1/1 trample, deals combat damage to a player, blood token, whenever you discard a card. So you could discard cards in other ways to pump this, but I don't think it's worth the squeeze on that one. 5 mana legend, not reading that. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever Sweet Tooth attack, create a food token. Okay, whenever you gain life, you may pay amount to make your creature bigger. That's really boring. This one, elves you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Well, that's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? In terms of what this card can do, that's a lot. It's 4 mana, but maybe it's a Green Sun Zenith target where you just get this and all of a sudden you just pop off and you get to double tap all your elves. Do you need to double tap your elves? Probably not. So maybe not. Shrewfus Sprout Spire. First up, look at this art. Like, someone's going to be playing this somewhere because look at that. All right. 3 mana, 1/1. Whenever a sapling you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1. Okay, so you kind of want to pump this and get a hit in and then pump your other saplings. Like, it's no good as a card, really, but it looks cool. Slinzer Spike Stampede. 5 mana. Beast spells you cast cost 2 less. But you're already playing 5 drops. Why do you need that? Who is this for? Each other beast you control enters an additional +1/+1 counter. Whenever you may pay and it fires. Like... It's really wordy, and the payoff is not worth reading all the stuff on it. I don't know. Some of the design of some cards these days bewilders me. Who is this for? It costs so much mana. Like, obviously it's just for like commander players and stuff I get, but I don't know. It's a foundation set. You kind of think it should have stuff for everybody. I guess that includes commander players. But you could definitely make an effect to make your beast costs less that would be fun. Just knock some mana off of it or something. I don't know. Maybe take out the bottom line of text, or take out both lines of text, and just make your guys cost less and be cheaper. That'd be fine. I'd be fine with that card. Anyway, Satina enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Okay, so 3 mana guys that search your library for a land and put it into the battlefield tapped have seen play in various formats before. When it attacks, you may return a land you control to its owner's hand and pump a creature. Okay, this is actually pretty decent. Is it Legacy good? Probably not. But I've played Wood Elves in Legacy, and this is kind of like Wood Elves with some other stuff going on. So, yeah, interesting. I like this design. Relatively simple. Even though it's like 2 sentences rather than just one. Okay. Also, I like the design of this Shrewfus guy. I don't think it's very good. But again, it's a very simple thing. It tells you what it's doing on it. Right, new art. So these are cards that already existed, just getting new art, so we don't have to pay attention to those. Ooh. New art guest artists. Okay, so that's just not any new cards. Maybe I'll look at those. But none of them are old bordered, so I probably don't care. Okay, it's just loads and loads of new art here. Oh my god, how many cards do they put in this set? Jeez. Wowzers, trousers. Alright. So that's all of those Foundations cards. We did not say many were... I don't know if we picked any that were good for Legacy, really. The cat, the Scythe cat, maybe some of the goblins is probably it. And there's some other fun ones that I'm going to try and play around that I don't think are good. Like these things, I don't think they're very good. But I want to play with them. So we'll try and work something out. All right, let's check in on this tournament that we're still live for, which is lovely. We didn't O2. That's all I'm happy with. Let's have a look at some of the player list here. Let's see what Reed is playing. Reed. Let's see what Reed Duke is playing. Playing the best deck. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Obviously, we'll check whoever we play against, but who else we got here? Our friend, Bobby Hobbs. Let's see what he used to play Infect. What was he going for here? Khan Forge. Oh, Bobby. The deck's good, obviously, but let's see what Andreas is playing. Dimir Delver. Ooh, spicy. You don't actually see an honest-to-God Delver of Secrets in the world of Tamiyo, but I like it. Anything else exciting going on here? No, pretty cool. Who do I think is going to win this tournament? I don't know. Well, it's not us because we've lost a round in it. I don't know if we're running, if they're doing a top 8. They're just doing Swiss of 6 rounds, I think. Let's have a look what Tony's playing. Which Storm build are you playing, Tony? Epic Gamble, by the looks of it. Epic Gamble with Research Desk. But it's also got like some of the tech from Ruby Storm. Yeah, pretty sweet. Who else we got here? J Cloud. Let's see what they're on. Red, White, Death and Taxes. Wowzers, trousers. That was unexpected. Pretty cool. I think this is probably the best Death and Taxes build at the moment. Let's just check. No other rounds yet. What else? Sahar, I know she's playing Mono Red. If there's anyone you want me to click on from this list, by all means, mention in chat. Yeah. Twinless Twin. The Discord name is Twinless Twin. Are they playing Twin though? They are not. They're playing the best deck. Boo earns. I nearly played Twin for this event. I do quite like Twin. Mr. Overturf, what are you playing? Respect the cat, please. Let's see what they're playing for you. Yorion Beans. Okay. So lower Murktide, bit of a action. Pretty cool. With our other rounds between them, we'll just watch some other people's games and have a little look and see what they're doing. But I don't think it's worth trying to log into someone's game when the round must be nearly over. Anyone else you would like to see here? Who do I think is going to win this tournament is a good question. Should we see who's actually won their first rounds? Let's have a look. Standings. Let's see who won first rounds. J Cloud. Not a surprise. In any given Legacy tournament, I wouldn't be surprised to see them winning it. Reed. Let's have a look. Tony. Yep. Obviously, you know, it's just one round, so there's a lot of players who won their first round. Maxtortion. Never bet against Maxtortion. He knows what he's doing. Okay, let's see who missed on winning their first rounds, shall we? Okay. Okay, it's loaded in the points of the people. Okay, so there's a bunch of people who are not win anything here. Right, so let's see all the 6 pointers. They go down to 11th place so far. Yeah, no, Phil and Brian aren't playing this one. I think Phil is at a I want to say Pathfinder event. I think they're doing something with the other channel they run where they do like role-playing stuff. I don't know what Brian's doing today. I chat to Phil a little bit, and I don't know Brian that I don't know Phil that well either, but you know, I chat to Phil every now and then, and I keep in touch with what Brian's up to, even though we haven't spoken very much. I only played against him for the first time the other day, actually. So out of these players, let's have a look. For these 11 players, who is... it's hard to not say that Reed Duke is probably the best overall player here, but in terms of legacy, like we're looking at Scorus here. Oh, how do I close this bit? I think J Cloud is probably a better legacy player as well, because they're people who play a lot of legacy. So these are the people I would have my mind on at this stage. Either one of these two. Let's see what. Let's see where they are here. Let's see what they're playing. Bristol Bill, Nardu. Okay, so this is a different build to the Nardu one I played on the channel a little while ago. Managed to fit in all 4 ponders. That's good. Nardu, Light Halfling, Bristly Bill. Yeah, this deck is pretty good. I think I prefer the core Nardu build, but this has some flexibility, and if you get used to playing it, it's really good. So, alright. So, what was the other? This or the Death and Tax. Okay, this is where I'm putting my money on. This is going to be the deck that wins it. This is going to be the 6-0 deck. Mark that down in your calendars. Out of the players who are currently 2-0. Very good player on a deck that I think is very good and also underrated. Only joined 10 minutes ago. Am I on mono black? Let me pop my deck list up on a screen for you. This is what I'm on today. So basically, we're trying to smash up all the blue-black decks. We got a bit crunched by Eldrazi, which is not a great matchup for us. I won't lie, but we smashed up the mono red deck because they have to put a lot of resources into doing their stuff, and we can kind of just discard them, reanimate stuff. You know, it's pretty fine. Why this Nardu deck is better than Nardu Cephalid Breakfast? I actually think Cephalid Breakfast is better, but the let's just bring it up again for you. So, but this particular list has some interesting flexibility to it because it can just play like more of a mid-range game than the Cephalid Breakfast deck can. I do think Cephalid Breakfast is better though. I think the Cephalid Breakfast deck is absolutely cracked right now. What round are we in? Let's just make sure I'm not holding anyone else up. Right. All right. Oh, we can see who played who as well. Who are we waiting for? These two. Is it just the one? Durdle's going late. Very good. Troll Freak. Okay. I wonder what... Oh, actually, no. I know what Max Distortion's on. He's on the same Nardu list, I think, as well, actually. Let me just pull that up for you. It's here somewhere. Where is it? I've been blind here. Max Distortion, there he is. Okay. Are there any decent land builds at the moment? That is an interesting question. So yeah, Max Distortion is on the almost the exact same list, except he's running one Shaman in core, I think. What did they cut for that? They cut a Ponder for the Shaman in core, and that's the only difference. So this deck is really good. Where are we at with the standings here? Yeah, so what we're saying, are there any decent land builds? Honestly, not really. I did get crunched up by a land build the other day, but they just sort of undercut my lands and I didn't get to play spells, really, which is the standard lands way. But the problem at the moment is the blue-black decks, they run off of basics, so you can't wasteland lock people as easily as you used to. The fact that like the Premier Tempo deck is a deck that plays on a basic swamp and a basic island very easily is definitely not helpful for the lands decks. And they can't do much against some of the Nardu stuff. Why Shaman in core over Shuko? Where is it? Have we got null rods or something in the board? They got the Collector Roof, so the Collector Roof shuts off your own Shukos. Shuko can attach to a creature, but having more creatures is better when you're trying to combo, because this doesn't have any way of tutoring up the Shuko. It's just another creature. So Shuko costs 1 less, so that you can play this around a Chalice as well. And also, another body in play is better than an artifact, because the body gives you 2 more draws with your combo when you have the Nadu going. So it just ends up being better to have the Shaman rather than the Shuko here. I don't know if people play... I don't know if there's any other creatures. I assume this must be the next best one, because Max Torsion would know what they're doing here. Okay, how is this round doing? Still going. Any Legacy deck can cheese some wins. Lands does seem to struggle with game plan right now. Yeah, the Lands game plan is struggling a bit. Let's pull up some MTG Goldfish, and we'll have a look to see where Lands is in the meta percentage-wise. Last time I checked, it was very low. We don't need these foundation card tabs anymore. Come on, computer. Well, you can see that Lands isn't in the top, 15 decks on MTG Goldfish. So how far down we have to go to find Lands? We clock in at 1.3% of the meta, which is pretty low. So let's see when we're last looking at some Lands. A 1-2, not great, obviously. A few 5-0s. Let's see what. So Green-White Lands, in my opinion, is the best Lands at the moment. Because you get access to... Okay, this isn't even Lands. This is like Green-White Depths here. It's just been mislabeled. Which shows you that Green-White Depths and Lands aren't really around. But yeah, so this is just a Green-White Depths list. I think the Green-White Lands deck is better. Let's see what this Bant looking one is. Okay, so this is more like a standard Lands. It's called Bant because it has Otawara in and consigned to memory out the sideboard to deal with Eldrazi. But everyone hating on Eldrazi right now doesn't help the Lands deck either, because everyone hating on Eldrazi means that you've got to deal with so many annoying things messing up your lands. Like Mono Red Prison, Stompy, whatever you want to call it, was the most played deck at this tournament I'm in at the moment, and it's one of the most played decks in the format. So it's kind of, that's hating on this. If we just go back to the front page of this. So this deck plays on basic lands, so Wasteland Locking isn't very useful. They can also do some pretty gross things early doors and then protect the one thing they're doing and win the game that way. Red Stompy has a bunch of Blood Moons, which is going to jam you right up. To mid-tempo, plays on basics, so you can't cheese them as easily as you used to be able to with tempo decks when they were all on non-basics. Eldrazi, they have some wastelands of their own, they have some mana ramp, but I think lands is probably okay-ish into Eldrazi as long as they don't throw a load of stuff at you early doors. Painter, another Blood Moon deck, so you're kind of seeing a trend here of stuff that is pretty good into land strategies. Although Turbo Depths is very different to lands, and I think Turbo Depths, we'll talk about Turbo Depths in a second. Let's just finish talking about lands with a few more of these. So Nadu combo can usually go over the top of lands quite easily. Then we have Mystic Forge combo. I played this the other day. I think the video is going to go up Tuesday, so I haven't finished editing it yet. So that deck is... I lost to a lands deck because I didn't have Grim Monolith, so I couldn't play my Monolith on 2. I had to play my Monolith on 3 with Basalt Monolith, and I just never hit 3 mana. And the Karn Forge deck, when it has Grim Monolith, feels unbeatable. When it doesn't have Grim Monolith, it feels rubbish. So there's that. And what else we got here? Like I said, Nadu, and then Doomsday can obviously just ignore what lands is doing. Same with Cephalid Breakfast. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be a problem there. In terms of going back to Dark Depths, though, so Turbo Depths is a very different beast. So Turbo Depths kind of splits evenly with Dimir, Tempo, and Reanimate, although my record against Dimir Reanimate is much better than Tempo at the moment on my file of all my win rates and stuff. Turbo Depths is very good into Red Stompy, which sounds counterintuitive, but you come in underneath them, or you use their own Blood Moon effect as part of your combo, which is what I like to do, and you end up just being able to win because of what your opponent's doing, which is great. So I'm a big fan of playing into Red Stompy matchup. I think it's something like 70-something% on my stats. Eldrazi is not a great matchup. So you can definitely beat Eldrazi and come in under it, but it is probably about a 40-something% matchup. because they have access to Wastelands, they have access to Chalice, which can take you off of your crop rotations and things. They have access to Kozilek's Commands for 2-mana answer for your guy, which is really frustrating, to be honest. They have Sowing Microspawn, and the top 20% of Eldrazi hands are just so fast that they're going to race you anyway. Painter is a great matchup for Turbo Depths as well, especially when you run lists like mine where you have access to the Abrupt Decays and the Null Rods out the sideboard. That's pretty strong. So I like this matchup too. Mystic Forge combo, you basically have to rely on your sideboard thing. If you can do a really early combo, then I think you're good. So the Once Upon a Time build is slightly better against Mystic Forge, I would say, because that goes off on average like a turn quicker or half a turn quicker. Let's just check the rounds. No round 3 as of yet. So yeah, so it goes off a little bit quicker. So it's better into Forge game 1, but then game 2 and 3, I run 4 Null Rod effects. So just slam those down, and it makes it really difficult for the Forge deck to win. Nadu combo is not a great matchup. They have a load of blue removal, white removal. They have the Teferi, which can just absolutely jam you up, and they can put a load of stuff in the air that you have to get through sometimes. So I don't particularly like this matchup. So in terms of like the bad matchups for depths, you kind of got these 3 which aren't great, but you have these 2 which are great and these 2 which are okay. So you're kind of like splitting the difference, and you're playing a little bit of matchup lottery, really. Yeah, you can certainly outpace the Nadu deck as well with depths. But yeah, so like obviously Cephalid Breakfast can race you and has white removal, but generally speaking, I don't mind the Cephalid Breakfast matchup that much because they are susceptible to certain things. But now they have Nadu, it's a different beast really, because Nadu gives them a flying blocker and gives them a bunch of cards to draw into that removal they need. So yeah, so what I would say is in the past, the Turbo Depths had more really good matchups. So the old Delver decks were a really good matchup for you. But now people have moved away from Delver and they've moved into like these Dimir Tempo decks, and they've got access to things like Harbinger of the Seas, as well as all the Wastelands and bits and pieces. It's kind of brought that down from being a really good matchup to being an even matchup, which isn't really where you want it to be. You want to have more of your good matchups. So I would say we have less good matchups in the meta than we used to. The fact that Green-White Depths and Death and Taxes aren't... Like, Death and Taxes at 3% here is the highest I've seen it for a few weeks, actually. But the fact that there's no real lands or Green-White Depths type strategies is good for us if we're playing Turbo Depths, because those are horrible matchups. So we've kind of traded out some of our bad matchups for some other bad matchups in terms of meta share. And we've kind of traded out some of our Delver matchup, but the fact that Dimir Tempo, if the Tempo matchup was as good as it used to be, so if this was like the old Grixis Tempo matchups, then Turbo Depths would be really well positioned, because you'd have 3 of these top 5 decks that you just smash like nobody's business, and then you have one that you go even with and one that's bad. Like, but it's not really bad, it's like 40% bad. So your matchups in the meta would be a lot better if we could just stop having Dimir be the principal Tempo deck. So when Psychic Frog goes, everything's going to change, obviously, and we all know Psychic Frog's going next month. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anyone. We're still waiting for anyone. Let's reload this and see if that changes anything. Pairings. No, we are still waiting for one match. Okay. See if anyone's been playing anything weird lately in the league. Oh, a mono black player. Let's see what they're playing. Orcish Bowmasters, Boggart Trawler. Oh wow, so they've just gone full Necro Dominance. That's sweet. Actually, I have a Necro Dominance deck in the queue, actually, as a donation deck. So that's pretty exciting. We'll get to that after I finish doing my series of playing the best decks, which will end at the end of next week. So I've got 5 more decks to play. So I'm trying to think. I think Monday is Blue-Black Reanimator, Tuesday Mystic Forge, and then the next 3 is going to be some combination, I haven't recorded them yet, is Painter, Mono Red, Prison, and Nadu. So I'll probably try and break up the Mono Red decks. And those are the 3 other decks I have to play. The Nadu deck I'm playing is the Nadu Chord variant. So there's basically 3 good Nadu decks in the format right now. You've got the Nadu Chord Elves, you've got the Nadu deck like this that Max Distortion is on, and then you've got the Cephalid Breakfast deck, which I think is really good. if I had infinite time to test and was going to Eternal Weekend, I would probably consider Cephalid Breakfast as my way to go forward. I think that deck is... You just have so many free wins in it, but also it's really good at the grind too. It's just a lot to like about it. And, you know, I think if you're playing in a big tournament, playing a Force of Will, you need to play like a Force of Will or a Thoughtseize deck in a big tournament, unless you're playing something really broken and combo-y, where you just kind of go under what your opponent's doing. Because you just need like a generic answer somewhere in there, because you're going to play against some random stuff. And you need to have a game plan against random stuff, and tools like Thoughtseize and Force of Will do that. Whereas we are playing not into a random selection of stuff, so I'm playing something that is a little bit more skewed towards the top of the meta for this tournament today. So this is similar to what I played at Eternal Legacy Masters, European Legacy Masters last year, because I was skewing into a field of blue-black scam. Didn't play against blue-black scam the entire tournament, but I played depths in the Legacy Open the next day, because I figured that would be a better shout, because this is the sort of deck that you want to play into a more skewed tournament, I would say. Alright, are we still waiting for people? Between rounds, next time around, we'll be doing some looking at some other people's stuff. There's probably a button I can press to put adverts and make some money, but I have no idea what that button is, so I guess you don't. Is there a button there? Oh wow, that's weird looking. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay, so I guess you're just getting an advert-free stream. Unless you want to just keep refreshing and getting the welcome to the channel advert. Maybe some money. Still waiting on this one. Actually, I might go and get a drink. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to mute my microphone. Alright, I'm back now. Play some matches with a quick deck like Oops All Spells. The only problem with that is that there are some slight problems with the client at the moment. And I don't want to crash it. Alright, we're into round 3. Let's see who we're up against and have a little looky. Oh, I got a bye. Oh. Alright, chat. Which player would you like me to watch? What match are we watching here? Let's open the go in the constructor tab. Let's watch one of the matches here. Who do you want to watch? Reed, XJ Cloud, or who else do we like here? Spectating, or Extortion. My real life friend Bobby Hobbs. Although he's playing Carnage, which might not be the most exciting thing. How are you getting a bye? Oh, because it's a double elimination tournament. So as soon as somebody loses a second round, they get a bye. That they get taken out of the tournament. So there's obviously a weird number of players, I guess. I don't know. Good question. 17 times 2 is what? 34? So 35 players out of 50 that we started with. I don't know. I hope Wizards falls down a hole. Very, very nice of you, Paul. I kind of don't want the thing that I rely on for my income to fall down the hole entirely. All right, who are we watching? I guess should we watch table 1? It's table 1, isn't it? Let's just watch this. Where is it? I could always go and get myself some dinner, but no. Where is Reed? I think it's Reed Rabbit or something is his handle. Let's just wait and see. The crowd demands Bobby Hobbs. All right, let's find Bobby Hobbs then. Where is he? I think weirdly, the last 2 times I've met Bobby Hobbs in person were both in the toilets at various events. As that when I didn't know he was at the event. So we're weird toilet buddies, I guess. I think it's DB Hobbsy, isn't it? It's just it was at the bottom, wasn't it? DB Hobbsy or TLG. Can't see them yet. They're not in. There is a possibility they've put it with no spectators on, but they're supposed to have it with spectators on. Where are we looking at? I hope you enjoy me scrolling through a list of people. It's fun times. Crowds is demanding Bobby Hobbs. Where is he? There he is. I won't join it because I'm a buddy, but we found him. We're just waiting, and then we can watch Carnforge. And who is he playing against? TLG. Oh, TLG is Sahar. Oh, okay. It's friend on friend. 2 of my real world friends. Okay. I knew I recognised that screen. I'm so bad at recognising names. Where's the client gone? Here it is. Okay. All right. Sahar versus Bobby Hobbs. It's what the crowd demands. That's what you're going to get. Who needs people like Rejic when you've got UK Magic scene grinders? All right. Looks like they've started. This one. Watch. Right. We appear to be watching from Bobby Hobbs' side of the table. Comment on how you think the matches will play out. So what are we at? I think that Bobby Hobbs is very heavily favoured in this matchup. I think the Turbo Carnforge doesn't really care about what the mono red deck's doing for the most part and can just outpace it. We'll see though. So the Blood Moon can do some stuff. You know, the Blood Moon can shut down some of the soul lands, but they can still just cast things, right? It's only the Flesh Raker that has a colourless pip, and they have 5 monoliths in their list. We're going to see here. So I'd imagine Sahar's probably going to start off with something like a Fable or a Bombardiers to try and get the damage done. If the hand is really bad, then she might have to play a Blood Moon. But yeah, okay. So she didn't have to play that. So her hand was at least... Because it's open deck list, I wouldn't have expected her to keep a hand that does turn 1 Blood Moon on 7 cards. It's just no good in this matchup. Sahar's not playing Chalice. Sahar, the mono red player, she's not playing Chalice at all. I can pull up her list for you if you like. Where are we? This one. Ba, 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 ba. On red. So yeah, they run Vexing Bauble instead of Chalice now. Because you just want your big things to resolve. And the Khan Forge deck obviously doesn't run Chalice because it's got a bunch of keys and it's just doing all that sort of jam. Grim Monolith. Okay, so the Khan Forge deck, when it has Grim Monolith, feels utterly broken and nigh on unbeatable. So the swingometer, if you want to call it, is heavily in Bobby Hobbs' camp here. Alright. The Vexing Bauble there is just as a way of using their mana, and it's going to be a redraw later. It's not going to affect anything that Sahar does with the mono red list here. Maybe if I get good at commentary, I can do that at some point. Who knows? Should comment on formats I don't play and just be like, what are all these terrible cards? Why are people playing this? Okay, so this is the sort of thing that Sahar wants to be doing. So she's going to clock in here for 4, and she's probably going to throw the treasure token for an additional 2 damage because she needs to get the damage going. Alright, Bobby Hobbs is up to something over here. Some suspicious activities. It's probably going to be a Kozilek's command to kill the Bombardiers and drawing some cards. Okay, how many cards has he got left in his hand? This is... He's got one more card as well. So the Kozilek's command feels really busted in this deck because when you have Mystic Forge and you stack the top of your deck with the Kozilek's command, instead of just scrying where you end up most of the time just looking for that one card that's really good, maybe a turn down the line you can do the other stuff, you can just string off a whole bunch. You spend more time reading cards than thinking about gameplay. Oh, Commander. Print more vanilla creatures. Let's just print a set that's like loads of really good vanilla creatures. Or like French vanilla creatures. I'd really like that. The other deck I was considering to play today was Food Chain, but I figured you would hate to watch me click through that. At least when I make a video I can edit that bit out. But I really like Food Chain. I don't think it's amazing in the meta, it's fine. Not great, but I like it. It's just a fun deck to play, apart from the clicking aspect. Alright, so Bobby Hobbs got himself a glaring Flesh Rager here. He's going to be spamming out a bunch of stuff, potentially. He needs like a big payoff, like a Mystic Forge or the One Ring. Oh, why is he playing the ugly One Ring? What are you doing? Can I assume I can't harass him in chat for playing the ugly One Ring, but there you go. On all my videos, it auto fills in with the ugly versions of cards, but I always change those printings off and also the ones that have different names. Won't record with them because they're just ugly looking. Alright, so Bobby is at 18 life. He's going to be absolutely comfortable here. He's going to be drawing some number of cards on his next turn, and that's probably going to be lights out. The yuck in chat for the One Ring. There we go. That's what we like to see. More hate on these One Rings. I wonder if it's cheaper than the other ones because it's so ugly, even though it's like a special printing. Maybe it is. It deserves to be. Alright, so Sahara's attacking here because she's not going to do any damage, but she gets the treasure token, and she knows that the Flesh Raker isn't going to block because the Flesh Raker is a more important game object than the Goblin Shaman token. But this is going to be a rough game for her. Also, this tournament is a double elimination tournament, but if you finish 4-2, so that your second loss is in the last round, then you still get prizes as well. And the prizes are pretty good, especially since it was a free tournament. I think the first prize for a 6-0 record is like $1,250, which we can't get because we've already lost a round. But we can still, if we win out for the rest of the game, it's still reasonable. Like I think it's $750. It's pretty nice. All right, so Sahar has a lot of damage, and she can copy the Fury next turn, so she can smash for 12, 13, 14. So that's pretty close to lethal here. But Bobby might just be able to win this turn. Carnforge deck is something else. When it has Grim Monolith. But when you have hands that don't have Grim Monolith, boy howdy does it feel clunky. Basalt Monolith is sometimes okay, but 3 mana is so much more than just 50% more than a Grim Monolith. Because Grim Monolith, you can cast off 1 land. You can never cast your thing up. Who is putting up the money? I believe it's Daybreak Games, the people who run the Magic Online account, the thing. So this is like a big showcase of the Magic Online platform and stuff. So they're putting up the prize purse, I think. It's part of their big package of really promoting content creators like myself. That's why we all have the Daybreak accounts and stuff. So it's all part of the big package of trying to make sure that everyone gets a little bit more interested in Magic Online. No horrible like rope stuff like Arena. That's the worst. Alright, so Bobby's drawn some cards with the One Ring. He's making a load of mana. He could be like re-ringing here. Okay, Mystic Forge. He's going to start ripping off the top here. See, he's got really nice art Mystic Forge, like the best art for the Mystic Forge. But then he has the ugly art for the One Ring. I don't understand the lad. Okay. Maybe he likes that One Ring. Maybe he likes the way it makes opponents just disgusted with it. Alright, here's Basalt Monolith. So, in theory, what Bobby is going to do even, is just going to be playing a bunch of artifacts off the top. Some of them are going to produce mana. So, every Grim Monolith is going to add mana. Every key is going to add mana. And just keep this going until he gets stuck on a land, basically. He also has a 10/10 construct, so he can happily block this Fury. There are situations where you just make an enormous construct and smash people down with it. I do not believe this is going to be one of those situations. It could be. You know, he's got 22 power over there. But now if Sahar attacks, she's just going to lose her creatures. And if Sahar stays back on blocks, she's also going to lose her creatures. And I think you're beginning to see why this matchup is absolutely abysmal for the red deck. Let's just quickly have a look at the win rate of this. So where is it? Mystic Forge combo into Mono Red Prison. 67%. That's pretty darn favourable. And that was from the Eternal Weekend tournament. So, yeah. That is part of Magic the Gathering, though. You need to get the right matchups sometimes. I wonder what Sahar has out of the sideboard. This game looks very over to me. If Bobby untaps next turn, obviously, you know, his monoliths won't be untapping, but his keys will. So each key is basically a Dark Ritual. So it's an extra whole bunch of mana going on there. Alright, Sahar wants to have access to this treasure token. So she's not dead to combat, at least. But, oh no, there's a manifold key. So if what Bobby can do is make enough artifacts that the construct is a one-hit kill and give it unblockable with manifold key and just batter the living daylights out of poor Sahar's mono red deck. Okay. Why have they both got the ugly One Ring? Ugh. I'm going to have words with them. Should jump on their streams and berate them for their thing. If you find their streams, tell them to have better looking art for their One Rings. I think all the streams... I think they're both streaming... Actually, no. Sahar's streaming on YouTube and Bobby is streaming on Twitch. Alright, so we've got Inventors Fair ticking up. Not that that matters. So, what is Bobby's plan here? He can't win this turn, but what he can do is play out some Flesh Rakers and just hold a Kozilek's Command and just cast it in Sahar's upkeep and kill her with it. So the One Ring is not really a reprieve so much here. I should go and moan in the chats on their streams. No, I just rib them for it later. That's fine. Alright, so we've got a card draw off of this Bauble. So the Baubles here, even though they obviously don't really want them in this matchup, they still cantrip, and they still clear the top card of your library to do that as well. So it's fine. It does interfere with your own Mox Opal, but they run 1 Mox Opal and 4 Lotus Petals is like the maximum 0 drops you see in these decks. So it's not really losing very much because you play them before your Petal anyway. And you can still play the 0 drops when you have Flesh Rakers. They won't resolve if you've got these baubles that you're relying on for something. But you still get the 0-1 Eldrazi token. Alright. Khan the Great Creator. That is some weird looking art for that Khan. That must be one of the new ones, surely. Can we hover over this and make this larger? Oh no, I'm typing in chat here. There we go. Is that a new one? I don't know. I've not seen this before. It's pretty funny looking. He's just a tree. I'm sure there's some lore reason why he's a tree. But he doesn't look very happy about it. Alright. The artifact player is continuing to make artifacts. A shock horror indeed. I wonder if they know I'm watching them. I think it tells them. I think it pops up in like this little screen here somewhere, maybe, I don't know. A Paradox Engine. So if you're unfamiliar with how this works, every time he casts a spell, he untaps all of his permanents, or his non-land permanents. So all of his monoliths untap, all of his keys untap. So he has infinite mana, and Sahara's not interested in that. So what Bobby's going to do here is he's going to minus the Khan, go and get a Walking Ballista, make a whole bunch of mana, and then play the Walking Ballista where it's big enough that he can just ping Sahara down in her upkeep and she doesn't get to do anything. So, yeah. This matchup looks absolutely rough. Let's have a look from Sahara's side, actually. That's going to be more interesting, I think. What can she do to help this one out? Disruptor Flute. That is a useful piece of tech here. You don't always see the Disruptor Flute in the sideboard. Fiery Confluence can blow up some artifacts, sure. And that's it. So she's got 4 cards that do something. She might want the Dead Gons just to kill the Flesh Raker. So possibly 6 cards. The Blood Moons I don't like very much here, so they can probably go. Makers of the Moon beats down, so I would leave that in. Pyrogoyfs deal damage. Broadside Bombardiers deal damage. Fury is kind of an odd one. Like, it can kill the Flesh Raker, which is important. I just got here what happened in your first 2 rounds. So round 1, I played against Eldrazi. And I'm playing... I don't know, let's pop the deck I'm playing up for you. I'm playing a mono-black build that's good into like the blue decks of the format, like the blue-black decks. Not so great into Eldrazi because they just have bigger creatures and stuff. We need to disrupt them. So game 1, I got Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2. Game 2, they just killed my guys. I mulliganed a bit and they got smashed up. Not a great matchup, got smashed up. Round 2, we played against mono-red. I went to 3 games. Basically, game 1, I got to do like reanimate troll stuff and it was just bigger than they could handle. Game 2, they had a leyline in play and we traded some stuff off and they just ended up having more stuff to do and beat us. Then game 3, I got him off and I just traded some of their resources out. And then I stole their One Ring with Doughty Voidwalker. Then I stole their Broadside Bombardiers with reanimate and just outvalued my opponent with their own cards. So that worked out all right. Let's see if they finished sideboarding. All right, they have finished sideboarding. So for people who've just arrived in the chat, we're watching Bobby Hobbs and Sahar play. And it's Bobby Hobbs on Colorless Artifacts, Mono Forge deck thingy, and then Mono Red Stompy on Sahar's side. Bobby is 1-0 up, and the matchup is absolutely brutal in favour of the Khan Forge deck. Sahar is already mulliganed to 5. So it doesn't feel like this is going to be the nicest of experiences for her. But I guess it's not even going to be that quick because you have to sit there watching him click through all his nonsense as well. One of the reasons I didn't play a heavily click-oriented deck today, because I didn't think you lovely people would enjoy sitting there watching me click through it. There's only so much banter I can do whilst trying to concentrate on not clicking the wrong things. Okay, so Sahar's on the play with a 5-card hand. She ideally wants to play something like a Fable on turn 1 or a Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, so she's got one of the aggro pieces. She had to use a Simian Spirit Guide to get on turn 1. So she wants like land, another Bombardiers, or land. One Ring would be pretty good because that's 6 damage in the bank as well as some more cards that might be able to do some stuff. All right, Bobby Hobbs has a Grim Monolith. And like I said earlier, when you have a Grim Monolith, it's really good. Also, to my friend who just joined in the chat, This is round 3. I got a bye because it's a double elimination, so it ended up knocking out enough people that I didn't have to play around. So, free victory for free. That's the sort of content everyone wants. Alright, so this is a turn 1 Khan the Great Creator. Pretty gross, as I'm sure you'll agree. So he got a liquid metal coating. So the plan is he's going to start just stripping all of Sahar's lands. She's already on a multi 5. But if she can play something to ping, she can kill the Khan this turn. But that might not be easy, and the cost of pinging the Khan might be too high when Bobby's already got 5 cards in hand to go with it. Khan is being attacked. Khan goes to 1, so at least he can't tutor for anything next turn, but it's going to be rough. Right, so Bobby's untapping his Grim Monolith, so he's going to have a bunch more mana to work with. He might not be doing liquid metal coating stuff. He might just be in such a commanding position that he can just win the game, but he might just be needing a little bit more mana to really go off, so he's just going to ruin Sahar's day instead. We'll see. Playing the Workshop, that suggests that he's got something else going on here. Okay, the Flesh Raker. Okay, so then he's going to cast the coating, make a guy. Ever thought about tournament casting? I've considered it, to be honest. But it's just a case of where would I go to do that. So next year I am going to the Belgian Legacy Cup, which is also going to be hosting the European Legacy Masters. And I'm going to be going there as like a special content creator guest. I'm going to be playing in some tournaments, but I might see if they want any coverage done, because I can probably do that. I don't mind chatting about stuff. Trying to find that right balance of talking about the game, but also, you know, you got to chat about some other stuff, because Magic is not the most exciting spectator sport. Let's be honest about it. Like, if you're watching somebody talking about what they're doing and stuff, that's fine. But if you're just watching a game unfolding, there's only so much you can talk about it. You can talk about what the person's thinking about doing and stuff, but you kind of need to, like, you know, have a bit of, you know, like cricket commentary where you've got a little bit of colour around it and talking about some random nonsense. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll try and do that. We're still working out the details on the Belgian Cup thing. All right, a Fury from Sahar. This is good. This is going to strip out the Khan and the Glaring Fleshraker, which is a pretty big deal here. So, because Bobby didn't want to get rid of his Eldrazi spawn token, he didn't get rid of the Ancient Tomb. He just turned it off for a turn. So if Sahar can follow up with a One Ring now, she has a good shot. I'm not sure if she missed an attack there. Because you could attack with the Broadside Bombardiers. I don't think the Fleshraker gets trade off, but it might do, is the only problem. So you probably have to do the Fury first, because otherwise you could attack first, get 2 damage in, then Fury, then fling the Fury for 7 damage as well. Another Khan. Yikes. Do not envy Sahar's position here, that's for sure. She's got 1 card left in hand, no red mana. Staring down all the mana in the world, and a Khan just strip mining her. Yikes. You'll see my video playing this Khan Forge deck in the week. It did not look as good as, well, not consistently as good as what Bobby's doing over here. But like I said, when you have the Grim Monolith, you win the game. When you don't, then it's sort of up in the air a bit. It's interesting that Bobby's not using his Khan to blow up her lands. Because he plussed it, but not... So what you do is you liquid metal coating, target the land, then you plus it and it dies. I'm curious why he's not been doing that. So if you're plussing the Khan anyway, you may as well blow up a land. It's the same as switching it off. Seems odd. I don't think he targeted... Yeah, because he's targeted the liquid metal coating on the Ancient 2. I'm not going to call it a silly name. I always take out the cards with different names when I play. Can't stand it. Alright, the Ugly One Ring. This is a big deal. And I think Bobby could have avoided this. He could have strip mined 2 of her lands by now. Ooh, the One Ring pitched straight away to kill the Khan. That's because the Khan is probably representing the Lattice Lock. But, I don't know, is that still probably means that you can't kill the Khan with the Brought Up Bombardiers because you put 2 damage on it and it goes down to 2 and they can't fling anything because of the... Yeah, yikes. Had to sack the One Ring there. The Khan means they couldn't activate the One Ring either as well. So it was just a big burn spell. Makes sense. I guess that is the correct situation there. Doesn't feel good though. Looks like Bobby's transitioned into just making some Urza Saga tokens. Urza's Workshop actually tapping for lots of mana. You don't see that very often. Don't think I like that attack very much. Unless she's got something else. Because the token and the spawn can double block the Bombardiers and kill it. Because it has Menace. Oh wait, is there more? Also, like, maybe you could liquid metal coating your own Urza Saga and untap it with a Voltaic Key to get another token out. That's kind of an interesting one. But yeah, this feels very over. I think Saha's just in the situation where she has to hope that Bobby makes a mistake, so that's why she's attacked there. I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's we're in such a horrible situation. We need to hope our opponent doesn't see this line. And that is not a great place to be. I'm surprised this matchup is only like 67% in favour of the Carnforge deck. It looks like it's way better than that to me. Obviously, we are seeing hands with Grim Monolith. I think hands with Grim Monolith 100% to win the matchup. Sorry if my chair's a bit creaky. Alright, so we're going to see another activation of the Saga. And he's going to beat down for 8. This is why I have 3 Null Rods in my sideboard, by the way, this deck. So this is 8 damage, and then she's dead on the next turn. Alright, 9 damage, I guess. So if you... Yeah, so he could have tapped the Liquid Metal Coating to turn the Urza Saga into an artifact. And then tap this for 3. Untap the Urza Saga. Use the other 2 mana to make another construct. And then you add 2 to the damage there, and you get to do a little bit more. Obviously, it's much easier to armchair play Magic than it is to actually play it. Because I don't have to think about the general operations. I can just sit here and go, let them do that and think about the high-level plays. But anyway, that match is over. Let's see who is still playing. Who do we want to look at? I imagine the J-Cloud matchups. No watches. What? Ah. I'm going to say that matchup will probably go on for a little while. Who has got watches turned on? I don't know who these people are. I don't think they're part of our tournament. They're just in the thing. Robot. Okay, yeah, we'll watch this one. This is my tip. I think Tagora is going to win the tournament. That's my pick for who's going to win this. Based on what happened after the first 2 rounds of all the X2 players, or maybe the X3 players actually. No, this is the 3rd round. Yeah, all the X2 players. Okay, so I don't know what round we're in. What game we're in. So we're going to have to feel our way. But it does look like they've not been playing this game for that long. And it looks like it's an Eldrazi matchup. This matchup should be pretty good for the Nadi player, I think. Because you get to just spam a bunch of stuff and go over the top of the Eldrazi player. Because they don't have that much removal. They're relying on their creatures to do stuff. And if you can just remove like the key Glaring Flesh Raker or whatever to buy you enough time, the Nadu combo is not something they get to interact with, and it's absolutely busted, as you well know, because it's got banned in 2 formats. And I believe it will get banned in a 3rd format within the next year. Before Christmas next year, we will see a banning of Nadu. That is my prediction for you. Write that one down. I don't think the card is a particularly healthy play pattern, and it's absolutely busted too. Alright, so Thought-Knot Seer is happening here. Do we get to see the hand? Target opponent reveals their hand, so we will see it. Okay, so they are consigning to memory the trigger, because they don't care about the 4/4. It's just a guy, and they can put stuff under the bus or whatever. They can use their lifestyle as a resource. If this is a Nadu, no, this is 4 mana. This is going to be Green Sun Zenith for Nadu, I think. There it is. So what they need to do now is find themselves a Nomads. This is the list that doesn't have the 5th Nomad style creature, whereas Max Distortion is playing 1 difference. So this list has an additional Ponder, so that you can try and find the pieces you need. So you can kind of try and find either piece. Whereas Max Distortion's build has 1 less Ponder in favour of the 2 mana Nomad creature. Another Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, this could strip a Nomad from the hand. We actually get to see the hand, though. That'd be some nice stuff for us to look at. Nope, it's not revealed to us. Ah, that's a shame. What do they take there? Sorry. Was the Nadu that got taken? No, it was the Green Sun Zenith that got taken. So that the Green Sun Zenith could go and get Sylvan Safekeeper and start the Nadu chain, but it can be a bit risky to do that. I'd be surprised if this Wasteland didn't get cracked on the other side, though. Oh, now there's something else. Is this It That Heralds the End? Or is this a Chalice? A Chalice for 1. That shuts down the Nomad, so that makes the combo really difficult to put into practice now. So Nadu can still beat. There is an Ancient Tomb, and Nadu does clock in 3 turns. They can throw one of their creatures under the bus, and then they'll take 4 this turn, and they take 8 the next turn, and then they will die, but they will win the game before then. So the Eldrazi player needs to have something here. Alright, just taking the full 8 here. So they have more mana on their next turn in case they have other plays, so they can have more chump blockers. That makes sense. If this is going to be the big 7 drop that's going to blow up the Nadu, that would be very strong. It is. So the Nadu gets a flip. It's a land. Losing the Nadu here is a real problem. Although they have taken some damage, but they can't clock back because of the big 6/6 body. Unless they've got some sort of plow here. They've got 1 card in hand, so maybe we'll get to see it. I expect we're just seeing a Surveil land at end step though. Oh, they can't plow because of the Chalice, right? Yeah. This is dire straits for the Nadu player who I just tipped to win the tournament. Me and my big mouth. Have I just cursed them? Alright, they milled over a trop. We're still gaming here. Blue-white. Is this prismatic ending on the Chalice? This feels like a prismatic ending, the amount of time it's taking to cast. There it is. Okay, so now they've unlocked the Ponder. They're going to have to throw 2 creatures under the bus this turn. I'm not really sure how they're supposed to come back from throwing 2 creatures under the bus. I guess the hope for them is that this is only game 2, and they've got a 3rd game to play. It's definitely not game 1, because when we checked in, they definitely hadn't played like 15 minutes worth of Magic. Shuffle their library off the Ponder. Not good for them. I should probably learn some people's real names. I just know them from their handles all the time. Alright, so this is 2 creatures under the bus. Go to 1. I don't know what the solution here is for them. Maybe their opponent accidentally hits the concede button. Which you laugh, but I so nearly did that the other day. which requires 2 misclicks at least. I think we're going to see... Oh, that was the match. Okay. Who are we going to watch next? Let's have a look. We can't watch the J Cloud matchup, which is a shame. Let's watch Reed Duke. Why not? Wasn't expecting to be commentating on Reed Duke at any time in my immediate career, but here we are. So, what is this? Is this a mirror matchup? The Bowmasters and the Nar Spellbomb suggest that our opponent is on our opponents. The person on the other side of the board. We're on Reed's side of the board in terms of the way we're looking. So the person on the top side, Control Freak, they are playing the tempo build. You can tell because of the Tamiyo and the Spellbomb and the Orcish Bowmasters. Now, some of those they will have in like the sideboard of some of these blue-black decks. Okay, we've got the days here in response to an Animate Dead. So this could be a double days situation. Reed has only got one card in hand, so this doesn't resolve. Alright, no, they're just in with the Atraxa. Okay, that is lights out right there. We've he's not playing Little Green People, I know. I think the Elf deck, the Nadu Cord deck, is actually really good as well. But this game looks very over from where I'm sat here. Like the blue-black deck, the blue-black tempo deck doesn't have the best ways of dealing with the Atraxa. It's not like the sort of white decks where they can just get rid of the Atraxa from play quite easily with a plow and then try and recover afterwards. But yeah, seems to be going all right for Reed here. Polluted Delta, Brainstorm, Troll of Khazad-dûm were what he got off the Atraxa. So not actually a great selection of hits. Pretty close to just hard casting a Troll. But he doesn't need to do anything because he's obviously miles ahead. I could have taken this round as a good opportunity to eat some dinner, couldn't I? Should have thought about that one. How many other matches are still going? Let's just a quick check on the matches here. Not many matches left to go. 3 matches, alright. There's not time for me to go and do anything else, is there? I guess blue-black Reanimator is Jund if you squint really hard. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know what you would describe this blue-black Reanimator deck as other than filth. It's really good. And you can watch me playing it on Monday. Suffice to say, you don't always have the best time with blue-black Reanimator. It is a good deck. It is the best deck. But it doesn't mean it's unbeatable. It is too good for the format. They definitely need to get rid of some Psychic Frogs out of the format. And I believe Entomb will also go. But we'll see. And the problem with Entomb is it makes the Reanimate strategy way too splashable. You can just have a tempo deck that just throws in, you know, Trolls and Entombs. Like, maybe you get rid of the Troll, but I think the Entomb is a little bit more egregious as a card. And that does give them some space to print some variants of Entomb that I would like to see. Like an Entomb that gets like non-creatures. Or you could have a sorcery speed Entomb. That'd be kind of interesting. Who are we still waiting for? We can't watch the J Cloud matchup because they've put no spectators on. Guide Twin. Let's watch that one since we're here. What does this look like? Let's have a little looky down here. There's a Reanimator here, so I think this is blue-black Reanimator. Against... Could be blue-black Reanimator. Hard to say. Hard to say from this selection of cards. What about in the Exile Zone? A Faema card, that doesn't tell us anything. But I think it's quite easy to see who's winning here when you look at the number of cards. 38 cards, 23 cards in deck. So one player has spent a lot more time sculpting their hand and drawing stuff. Alright, Psychic Frog. What a designed Magic card. It's certainly one of the Magic cards of all time, isn't it? Not really sure. Like, I can't imagine they play tested this very much. Because I thought it looked pretty good. And then as soon as I played a single game with it, I realised it was pretty busted. Ooh, Metamorphosis Fanatic. Are they going to respond with an Entomb here? That's a fun line. Not great with the Ghost Vacuum sat there, though, of course. Right. So this 4/4 will be the biggest thing on the board because the Psychic Frog will only have 2 cards to pitch to it, so it can only be a 3/4. But one more turn down the line, that changes. People wanted Dr. Teeth back. Oh, Psychotog, yeah. They could have just reprinted Psychotog at 2 mana. Why not do that? Like, I think Psychotog at 2 mana is pretty good. I don't think it's busted. I think 2 mana Psychic Frog would definitely be better balanced than Psychic Frog, that's for sure. I think having a creature that can just be really large and discard stuff is good. I think because it only attacks on 1 axis, whereas Psychic Frog attacks on 2. It's bigger than other creatures, and it's also drawing Q cards, so it just ends up head on so many axes here. It's also like the Schrodinger's frog, because you don't know how big the frog is going to be at any given moment, so you have to play around it being the biggest it can be, which is just not a good design in terms of how it plays out in combat and stuff. Okay, we got a Psychic Frog off, but one of the players is on 6 life, and that's not great. Hopefully we can play into some blue-black and leverage the fact that our deck is somewhat skewed to beat these decks. But as we've seen, a lot of the decks, you know, we tapped into a couple of matches now, and there's lots of blue-black around. And they're towards the top end of the standings. I think whoever wins this is X and O, I think. Or is it whoever loses is knocked out? I can't remember. Or if this is a 1-1 matchup or a 2-0 matchup. Ah, yes. Psychic Frog combat. What a joy. See, people moan about Orcish Bowmasters, but I think Orcish Bowmasters is fine. Like, Orcish Bowmasters is just a 2 mana for 2 1/1s at the end of the day. Sure, it can ping something off, that's sometimes good. And yes, it can harm some cantripy type stuff, but you can play into it. You can say, okay, it's worth me cantripping into it, and it's not the be all and end all if it does ping you a little bit. It's not like a Psychic Frog, where it's just, okay, every turn this is in play, I'm losing harder. Whereas Bowmasters doesn't really win the game very quickly. Gives people choices. I do think Bowmasters probably should have been a black and red card, though. That's my one design critique of that card. Feels like a black-red card to me. I think if it was black and red, that would probably have dissuaded a lot of people who were moaning about it. But I think the card was fine. Especially in a world where things like the One Ring exist, having stuff like Orcish Bowmasters is a nice little balancer. And what I like about Orcish Bowmasters, now I'm somehow doing a pitch to why I love Orcish Bowmasters, wasn't expecting that, but here we are, is it punishes blue decks, but it doesn't punish non-blue decks very much. And it can be played in non-blue decks. So blue decks obviously playing Orcish Bowmasters, oh yeah, it's just another good card for blue decks. But it's only good against blue decks, so it actually gives the non-blue decks a slight leg up, which I think is the sort of thing you want to do in a format dominated by the colour blue. Whoa, double Psychic Frog attack here is big news. The Psychic Frog on the other side can be lethal next turn. Sorry, the Psychic Frog can't be lethal next turn. Sorry, the life total is the wrong way around in my brain. So yeah, this is just a pretty free attack. I don't think they're going to discard 2 more cards because this won't be lethal. We're just going to get some drawing. Oh, I need some dinner. All right, and the Thoughtseize to follow up. So we might see all the cards getting chucked into the Psychic Frog here. Alright, Troll, Ghost Vacuum, both into the Frog. Should have been a Caterpillar. and just say it could be the hungry caterpillar and just eat all the stuff. I don't know. Or maybe they just shouldn't have printed it. How about that? Okay, so there's one card left in the hand, which must be a land. Alright, and now they're animating of dead this Arc of Cruelty. That is super duper lights out right there. Right, they know the other card in the opponent's hand, so they know this is going to work. It's lethal. Goodbye, Psychic Frog. So that should be the end of that round. So we might be able to get to play a game ourselves in a moment. It'll be fun. I need to plug my phone in here so I can keep looking at chat. Because I am only on one screen, so I have to kind of do a little bit of phone and computer here. Like a good old-fashioned nerd. Alright. Roster. We don't want the roster, we want the standings here, don't we? Claudio, Reed, J Cloud. So J Cloud was one of my other picks, right? So that was like my number 2 pick. So we're still in the running for being accurate on who wins this one, ish. So we got here 5 players on XO. A bunch of us on 2-1. Who's been knocked out this round? Sahar, Ruda, Skura, Durdles is gone. $100 drop. That's weird. Alright. So let's click back on the pairings. Should be loading into round 4 soon. If I lose, at least I get to go and eat some dinner. So and get the rest of my evening back. But we are halfway through the tournament. I think it's just 6 rounds of Swiss double elimination. So how many players do we have now? We're still in 1, 2. Oh, what was that? Didn't enjoy seeing a Magic the Gathering bug there. Hopefully everything's fine. Okay, so how far down till we hit the X2s? Here, 24. So after the next round there'll be 12. After the round after that there'll be 6. After the round after that there'll be 3. Does that mean there's going to be 2 players who are XA? Alright, we just go back to pairings and wait for this to load. Check to see my messages over here. See if there's any important. Yeah, so Magic Online is using new tournament software, and it's got a few kinks in it. We haven't crashed, and it hasn't told us to restart either. So I think we're alright. Yeah, so once you get 2 losses, you are done. Yeah. Alright, just reading some of the bits and pieces here. Ah, okay. I can report the pairings in a different place. I don't need to use the client. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, this gripping coverage of me waiting. Like either way, we win next round, right? We either get a win on the board, which is good and gets us 1 win away from getting some nice prizes, or we get to go and have dinner. So that's win-win right there. Let's have a look at the chat. No one in chat saying anything exciting. Any questions or anything to make this section while we're waiting more interesting, by all means, fire away. think some people just got kicked out of the client because the new tournament software is causing people some issues. But if we go to, let's go to the about section of the tournament for now. Let's have a look. Doing the match hosting. Where's the prizes? So 6 match wins, 1250. 5 match wins, 600 or 750, depending on when the first loss occurs. That'll probably be 600 for us since we lost the first round. 4 match wins is 500 play points, 50 treasure chests. Digital set of, I think it's Modern Horizons 3 that you get a digital set of on this one, which will go on to like my regular account rather than the unlocked account, which obviously has everything anyway. So pretty good. It's worth staying in for. So I just got to keep winning. That's the plan. Even though we've only played 2 rounds, we are still technically winning because we got the bye. Still nothing up here. No changes. Right, let's have a look at some other deck lists of recent events, shall we? We got here. Oops. Anything jumping out at me? LED 4 color. That's probably going to be Dredge, I would imagine. When is pre-modern content happening? So, as you know, because I know who you are in chat, I'm having building work done in my house at the moment, and I'm getting a new room so I can do all my recording in a room in my own leisure instead. And once that room is finished, which would be by next weekend, then it's going to be easier for me to make additional bonus content like pre-modern. So in theory, sometime over the Christmas period, you're going to get a pre-modern video on a Saturday. It's like a little extra bonus for you. And I've been really enjoying a little bit of pre-modern. I'm pretty excited about the deck I'm playing. Little food chain deck. Maybe I'll pull it up somewhere. Let's have a look. Pre-modern somewhere. Let's go up a level. I think this is my build at the moment. So, okay, so this isn't actually the build I'm on at the moment. But you can kind of get the idea. So I'm not running the Achroma or the Phantom and Shobra anymore. These are both gone. So might as well just boot those off. Just check. Still no rounds. Okay. Because I found that... Where's the Hypnox? Oh, there's the Hypnox. So I found that we didn't really need to try and play the other colour stuff. The idea is we're just cantripping into a food chain with a bunch of stuff that cantrips. And then when we play the Mesmeric Fiend or the Faithless Butcher, we can sack it to the food chain with the ability on the stack so that we take their card permanently. And that's pretty good. And just a 4 mana, just like Necrotal, is actually pretty good in pre-modern, which is cool. So we kind of got Super Necrotal here. And we're just drawing a bunch of cards. And we have Phyrexian Gargantua, which we can tutor for with our Fierce Empath, draw some cards. And this is quite big by the standards of pre-modern. We have Verdloff the Ancient. If we have a mana sink, we can just dump a load of stuff into this. If we've gone away where we've drawn a bunch of creatures that we're pitching and gaining extra mana, pitch it to the Verdloff. And then the Hypnox is like the big O. So this is 11 mana. So it costs an absolute boatload. And it has a really sweet ability where you exile your opponent's entire hand when it enters the battlefield, but only if you cast it. And because Food Chain makes us cast it, this is like the unique payoff that we get to run in this deck. I do have a list I'm working on. Oh, some other cool stuff. Dark Hatching is a cool thing. It's a 6 mana, destroy target non-black creature. It's pretty good. And it flies. I had a problem with flyers last time I played this, so there is a Dark Hatching in my list at the moment to tutor for with the Fierce Empath in case I need a flyer. But I have a build that runs that I want to try. I don't think it's very good, but I want to try the build that runs Brass Herald, which is a 6 mana 4/4 that when it enters, you choose a creature type and then you reveal the top 4 cards of your library and you get all creatures of that type. And the idea is we name Horror, and we have so many hits in our deck once I tweak it a little bit more. And yeah, that's kind of where my pre-modern content is going to be, because this is a deck that I'm sort of building in paper. My friend in chat is, he doesn't know it yet, but he's selling me his Llanowar Wastes. So there you are. Because he's got some nice Apocalypse ones, and I'm selling his collection for him. So I'm going to be buying those off of him for my deck. And then yeah, so this is and also take his like old bordered Birds of Paradise as well. So you can look forward to those getting sold. But and they'll be going to a good home in the world of pre-modern. I do like the pre-modern format. It's really fun. I played a little bit of it again the other day. I really like Burn in the format as well. I really like Burn in all formats actually. It's just a fun one. Why are we still waiting here? I'm just going to check in on the Discord, so bear with me for a second. Nothing else here. We're still waiting, I think, here. Okay, so it's telling me that the feature matchups for this round was Reed Duke and Control Freak. Not surprised. At the next convenient opportunity, restart. Okay, so there's a new patch, so I'm going to have to close this window. Okay. There's the new patch. Okay. Also going to shrink my screen here so I can try and look at my password to put it in without you people seeing it. Let's see how far along that cuts off. I might just have to restart the stream to do that properly. Once this loads up. All right, I'll just blank my screen for a second whilst I find my password. If for some reason you did see what my password was, then please let me know so I can change it. I don't believe you did, though. Allurin in pre-modern. Yeah, so when I first started playing Legacy, the Allurin deck was one of the first, it might have been the first Legacy deck, before I even started playing Legacy, it was the first Legacy deck I ever saw someone playing, because someone was like, hey, come have a look at this. And I was like, okay, and obviously they had to go through all sorts of weird loops back in the day. So, the reason I like the Food Chain deck is because I have Food Chains already, and I like Food Chain. And there wasn't a Food Chain deck that existed, and I was like, I want to try and break a card that nobody has broken in, or not break, at least make a card viable in pre-modern that nobody else is playing yet. So that kind of motivated me to build the Food Chain deck. I chatted to some people online as well. Some people have been trying some Deranged Hermit builds, so I might have a go on some of those, but I quite like just the horror build that I've got. It feels pretty good. I might end up on some sort of Goblin build where you use Goblin Matron to go and find Siege Gang Commander. That's a pretty interesting line. And then you have loads of mana there, but what are you doing with that mana at that point? Can you really afford to be Jund, or is it Gruul? What is your Gruul payoff? I don't know. I don't think there's a good enough Gruul payoff. But maybe there is. I'll have to have a look. Maybe it's going to be you have Hermit Druid. Sorry, Deranged Hermit, not Hermit Druid. Deranged Hermit and Siege Gang Commander, as well as some like Verdloff the Ancient style thing. So you just make loads and loads and loads of mana and then do it that way. Obviously, you can play cards of any colour because Food Chain helps you that way, but it can be a little bit awkward. Fierce Empath is good. I've been liking that in the deck. The only problem with Fierce Empath is if you want to play Deranged Hermit, it just doesn't work. All right, we have matchups. Let's see who we are looking at here. The Good Soldier. So let's add a buddy. And I have to host this one, don't I? Yes. Okay. So let's go down to... I just deck back here. Showcase, no. Is this the one? I don't think it is. Uh-oh. I don't like how much this has slowed down. Also, these cards have become massive. Wowzers. Alright, bear with me. So there's our showcase black. That's the one. Oh, that is not a happy screen. That is the Magic Online crashing screen. Okay, I need to close my screen down again for a second. So right, is everyone? Let's try again. DB underscore the good soldier. Have to give it a minute. There's also like featured matchups with on their main stream here that I might need to do at some point. Unlikely because we took a loss early on. Okay. See if we'll load up our deck or not. Okay, everything is enormous. Why is everything so big? Right, so let's see if we can open the constructed tab. Legacy Tournament Practice Room. Where is that one? There it is. Create. 2 players. Only buddies can join. Watches are fine. 25 minutes. Create. Okay. Q money. Is that the right opponent? No, we're against Ryan Overturf here. Playing mono red. I think this is the wrong matchup, right? Let me check again. Yes, this is the wrong pairing here. Because in the blog thing here should be DB the good soldier. Right, so let's try that again. They haven't set one up here, have they? No. Yep. Oh, sorry, too many tabs. Yep, that is the correct one, table 12. Let's try that. I am the one sitting on the table here, aren't I? Yes, okay. Aha, we're in. Okay, we're in. Let's pull up my chat on my phone again so I can see what you lovely people are saying. Let's have a look to see what they're playing as well. That's really important to keep our opening hand here. Moon Stompy, that was it. Okay, sure. And we're on the play. We can't keep this one for obvious reasons. We're going to mulligan it. Oh, sorry. I need to turn the screen back on. Boom. There you go. Thank you, chat. Sorry, I had to turn the screen off so I could pull up my password. I like this opening hand. I don't need this Dark Ritual, so we'll keep it. We will need some action, but we're going to hopefully prey on our opponent's hand here. Our opponent's mulled to 6. We get to take a little peek. We will need a threat at some point, but we have a reanimate, which can be a threat if our opponent's got something spicy here. Fable the Mirror Breaker, Pyrogoyf. I like the Pyrogoyf. I'd quite like to have that. Sure. Let me have your Pyrogoyf down the line. If we reanimate this, it won't be as large, but we can Wasteland and then reanimate, and it'll be large enough to kill their thing. A basic mountain and pass. Okay, so we don't get to Wasteland here. We can Wasteland ourselves to put land in the graveyard, but I don't think we need to do that. And then we can just pass. Yes, mono black screen. That was what I was playing. So we played, the last round we played was also against mono red. We managed to take that one down, so I'm hopeful here. It's going to be a Fable. So they have a Pyrogoyf. Their Pyrogoyf can never kill our Pyrogoyf. It's important to note here. So we can Wasteland this, kill their creature. Get back the Pyrogoyf. We got land and sorcery. So this will be enough to kill their Shaman token. And Pyrogoyf, one Pyrogoyf can never kill another. But we have removal, so we can kill theirs. And we put them back a little bit. We only have a 2-3, but this will obviously get bigger and bigger as it goes. So long, and thanks for all the Pyrogoyf. Indeed. They did not use Fable of Mirror Breaker's ability. Okay, Chromox. Imprinting. Is it the Pyrogoyf? It's a Simon Spirit Guide. A Volcanic Fissure. That's some free damage. 3 mana. Laelia, Blade Reforged. This is fine. We kill this. Then we kill the next thing. This will put a creature in the graveyard, so we beat for more. We have taken some damage because obviously we reanimate a Pyrogoyf. So we need to watch our life total a little bit. Sundering Eruption is the land that also casts Falter. We're not going to block here. A Thoughtseize. Sure. Why shouldn't I? Goodbye, Pyrogoyf. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. This is an instant, so now we get to bash for more. Battle of the Monocolored decks. If we draw one of our other animates, we can get back another Pyrogoyf if we want to, and then it will trigger the first one, because this is whenever a Tarmogoyf, whenever a Lurgoyf enters, so we can double it up. Well, I don't like how that lingered there when I made that larger. I hope we're not going to crash again. This would be a bad situation to crash in. Right, so their Fable has flipped here. We can attack. If they don't block, then we can kill this after blocks. And put an enchantment creature into the graveyard. Which means we bash off 5 here. Just good old-fashioned playing some creatures, removing their guys. This is very much as Richard Garfield intended. Right. Sometimes your opponent's creatures are better than yours. And we have a solution for that. We don't have any way of looting cards from our hand, so we will play the Swamp out. And then we'll pass. We have 2 lethal threats. We can flash in the Oppo agent when we need to. Alright, we got the game. Let's see if we can sideboard in an effective manner here. Oh my god, why is it so big? Why are all the cards so large? How many people have we got in chat at the moment? 23 people. There you go. It's not bad. Vexing Baubles. These don't work. We should probably check our opponent's exact list as well in case there's anything spicy in it. Bombardiers, Lalia. Doesn't have the... This is the exact same list as Sahar, right? No, the Maguses, maybe. They're slightly different. Disruptor Flute, Dead and Gone, Fiery Confluence. Okay, yeah, just standard stuff, really. So we want the hymns so we can trade up in resources. And then we want a threat with Death Touch so that we can beat out some of their bigger creatures. Oh, no. Don't crash on me. Oh, come on. Struggling a little bit here. Oh no. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. I'm gonna have to message my opponent and let them know that maybe I've crashed here. Opponent's thing, where is it? Over turf, sure. Oh, I'd just like to get this play. Oh no, the Plague Engine is back. Oh no, we're done. Alright, it fixed after we sent the message, so that worked, I guess. Alright, our opening hand here has our 1 enters the battlefield tapped land. That is not really where I want to be. I do quite like a lot of what this hand has to offer, but I am a little sketchy about keeping this hand. If we draw a swamp on our first turn, this hand looks pretty good. We can do turn 1 Dark Ritual and power something out, but I think we probably want some hand disruption, and I don't want to just play this and not go anywhere, so I will mulligan. Okay, we have some removal spells. We have 2 lands here. We have the Dark Ritual as well. Are we going to want to Dark Ritual anything out on turn 1? It's possible. I think in that case we probably bin off. No, the Reanimate's so good here though. Just remove their guys and get them. Alright, we're going to bin off the Dark Ritual. Sorry, Dark Ritual fans out there. Seem to have opened a million tabs on my phone, apologies. Where's the chat again? There you are. Right, they're beginning with Leyline in play. That's fine. Our Reanimate works off of their creatures. And we have removal to take their creatures out. And then they won't have many creatures. And their creatures are good. So we kill them. We take them. We enjoy them. My record. I am 3-1. No, I'm 2-1 going into this round. And we're 1-0 up in this game. Against Mr. Ryan Overturf. Alright. Chromox, Lalia. We're going to see a 3-drop on 1. What is this going to be? Okay. Sure. That's a pretty good card. Our opponent only has 1 card in hand though, so they're already like out of resources. Do I want to play this tapped? Or am I willing to pay 3 life? I also quite like this as a spell down the line. I think I'm willing to pay 3 life. Am I willing to Fatal Push their 1 creature here? I think so. We have another removal spell next turn. I don't like trading 1 for 1 here. But I think it's the right thing to do. When our opponent has diminished resources, we want to capitalize on that and diminish them further. We don't want them to just get a load of treasure tokens. Alright, they discarded both of their cards for a re-up. Okay. So we couldn't kill this anyway with what we had, but we can kill it next turn. They do get to hit us for 3. They might be able to play the top card of their library. Sundering Eruption. They can play that. It's a land. This does say play, not cast, right? You may play that card. Yes, they're going to play that tap this turn, I suspect. Unless they have a Dead Gone. They do not have a Dead Gone. Okay. Opposition Agent, not great in this matchup, but it's still a guy. Felmire will play 3 life. Probably Shoulder's Edict this now. No, he Shoulder's Edict at the beginning of combat or in response to something. Because we don't want them to play another one. We can choose to reanimate this if we want to in a bit. If our opponent's got good cards. So I think we have to do it now, actually, don't we? Because we don't want them to get the... We don't want them to be able to sacrifice this. I think getting rid of the Lalia that's scaling up is more important. Alright. I like us on the play here. On the draw, it can be a little bit of tension going on. So we can go and get their Lalia if we want. We do need to do something about what they've got assembled here, though. A Fatal Push. That does deal with some of what we have. We can kill this. We can't kill the Reflection unless something leaves play. We could just play out a guy that has evasion, but this combo, I think that's what beat us last time in the game we lost against Mono Red, was them assembling 2 Fables. So we could play the Emperor of Bones. That might be better than the Lalia here. We could reanimate the Lalia. If we find a Wasteland, we can Wasteland kill this, and that's pretty good. Alright, I've convinced myself to bring back their Lalia here. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library or your graveyard. Okay, so we can't just cast spells and put them into exile via their... Oh, we're going to see here, Dead Gone. That's pretty solid. That means we get to Fatal Push the Reflection, though. We've had to spend 2 Fatal Pushes to answer their Fable. Not ideal. I wonder if they've boarded out any of their big guys. I don't think they can. I think they need to have the big guys, otherwise their deck doesn't do enough. Tale as old as time. A mono black deck, possibly losing 2 enchantments. Oh, it really doesn't like it when I make them big. It really slows the client down. I should stop doing that. Alright, so we're getting hit for 2. They've got a bunch of mana. They can place on like a Pyrogoyf here. It'll be pretty reasonable. They've got creature, land, artifact, enchantment. Fury, that's a big one. That is a big boy. I think we're going to lose and then have to try and win in game 3. Which is exactly what happened the previous time we played this matchup. Reanimate. Would love to kill this Fury. I don't believe we can do that though. So what is the play? We probably need something that blocks. So we probably just have to go to the Bone Zone here. I don't really want to exile anything. Well, if they have a Pyrogoyf, that's pretty bad for us. So I guess we take out Fable here. Is there any enchantment? We're not going to put any enchantments of our own in. But this does not feel like a game we're winning. Are we going to be done with this tournament soon? Who knows? I believe we can win this game in game 3 though. We did last time. We have some pretty good tools. Wowzers, trousers. Okay. What is our solution to win this game? We have to kill this Fury and reanimate it. Would be nice. But I'm not sure we can do that. So we have to block. I guess we block and save the 6 damage. We're forced to chump here. What is our plan? Shoulder's Edict is a little bit too late. I think we're going to concede and go to the 3rd game. I like how we sideboarded here. We could board in Null Rods to stop their treasures and their Chrome Moxes. That might be better than Opposition Agent. But it might not be. Like, Opposition Agent does come in, it blocks, it attacks, it does stuff. That Voidwalker is fine because we can play that, take apart their hand. The Bowmaster isn't exceptional either. I don't think I want to Null Rod. It's a bit do nothing. Our plan is to answer our opponent's creatures and just have more stuff left over afterwards. So we'll just continue the train. Alright, we're on the play. What does our hand do? Turn 2, him, turn 3, Baragwave, which is one of our best creatures in this matchup. Sure, it's a touch slow. We probably get a Surveil land. If our opponent plays a turn 1 Blood Moon, that could be pretty good, but we're mono black. They've probably boarded out their Blood Moons in favour of Dead and Gones and Fiery Confluence. I don't know why they would have their Blood Moons in, sorry. We can still get a black source, which means we get shot off of 2 spells if they do have a Blood Moon. But it shouldn't really be in their deck. And it shouldn't be the thing they want to play out of their hand first either. If they're on the play, I could see it, because you can maybe shut down our fetches. But we only have 4 fetches. Seems like a lot to be trying to shut down. Volcanic Fissure. Tapped or untapped? What's it going to be? Untapped. Alright, so our opponent is planning on casting Dead and Gone here. That's what this tells us. We'll get our 1 Shadowy Backstreet. That's sweet Surveil action. A Thoughtseize. Yeah? Do I like that more than a Him here, though? Him can hit lands and really jam them up. I'll take the Thoughtseize. So this is an actual real big decision here. We could play out the Him or play out the Thoughtseize. If we play out the Thoughtseize, we don't do anything with the rest of our mana. It's not very mana efficient. If we Him here, then next time we can play Doughty Voidwalker and Thoughtseize. So I am inclined to Him here. This could just create an entirely non-game for our opponent. Okay, we took out a Chrome Mox and a Lalia. Those are both good cards. That also puts an artifact in the graveyard, so our Baragwave is already bigger than all the creatures in their deck. Or it'll be the same size as the Baragwave. City of Traitors, so they did have some mana. A Broadside Bombardiers, sure. We take a little bit of damage. We're going to gain that back soon. So the plan here is to down to Voidwalker and Thoughtseize, or Fatal Push, so that's better, isn't it? Is that better than... Do we Thoughtseize and Fatal Push here? I think we start off with a Thoughtseize. The One Ring is a card I don't particularly want to play against right now. Dead and Gone. I don't care about that too much. Yeah, the One Ring is the one that's got to go here. So we need to beat the Pyrogoyf. So I think we're just passing the turn here. So we have a Plague Engineer which can block the Pyrogoyf. And we have a Baragwave, and if we just have ships in the night, that's fine. Another Broadside Bombardiers. Alright, so now we have to make sure we get rid of this one. Get out of here, Broadside. So we're still taking 2 here. I'm a little bit worried about this Pyrogoyf, because that and the Broadside Bombardiers is a bit of a combo there. Alright, let's play our Giant Baragwave. We can't block the Bombardiers. They could play the Pyrogoyf, dome us, and then fling the Pyrogoyf for us. And that is 5 plus 6. So our opponent has lethal here. Yikes. Maybe we're supposed to take the Pyrogoyf here. We didn't know our opponent was drawing a second Broadside Bombardiers, though. If we knew our opponent was drawing a second Broadside Bombardiers, we'd take the Pyrogoyf. Well, our opponent has a line to victory here, and we have a line to eating our dinner, so that's something. Alright, they're just deading... Okay, they didn't... Oh, okay, they didn't have the mana. That's fine. So they're bouncing our creature here. They needed the land to have the win here. So that's something, I guess. What is our plan here? Fell the Profane. Ugh. This removal spell is going to be useful, but we need our opponent to brick on land for another turn. If we can get one attacking with our Baragoyf, then I'll feel a lot more comfortable. If we can get the land to fell the Profane here. Okay, so this is Pyrogoyf. Our opponent has lethal. I'm assuming they're going to see the line. They're a good Magic the Gathering player. They know what they're doing. So this should go upstairs to our face. Yep, that's 5. This attacks. They fling this. And that, unfortunately, is the end of our tournament. Yeah, okay. So, once again, I have played a deck that is really good into blue decks at a high competitive Legacy tournament and not played into any blue decks. That's 2 for 2 on big tournaments like that. All right, that's the end of the match. GG, opponent. All right. We're going to be automatically unenrolled from the tournament. So why is this like this? Okay, let's move this. We're going to have to work out how... We can't make it any smaller. Why are the cards so large? I don't know. Maybe they'll patch that. Anyway, so our tournament was a bit of a waste of time in some respects. Because we built a deck that was really catered towards a certain segment of the meta. And we just didn't play against that meta. Like, I think the mono-red matchup is fine. The Eldrazi matchup I don't think is good. But I think we could have done... We probably should have just played Turbo Depths and just crushed everyone. Like, maybe Eldrazi is difficult there, but I think the Eldrazi matchup for this, the Eldrazi matchup for Turbo Depths is not a million miles away. I think Turbo Depths is probably better. So, yeah. Once again, we should have just played Turbo Depths. And I know that's what all you lovely people in chat were probably asking me to do in your heart of hearts. And maybe next time I will. But I might be going to a paper tournament in a week or two, and I'm playing some Turbo Depths there. So I want to play something different. And I just felt like playing some Mono Black because I'm currently doing a series on my channel of the best decks in the format, and I'm playing them. And one of the surprise decks from the Eternal Weekend in Asia was the Mono Black aggro deck like this, ended up with a 73% win rate. Small sample size. We might even have on a tab here. If we go to win rate, Mono Black aggro, 20 matches. Okay, so maybe 2 players in there or something. But yeah, both of the players who are playing this ended up with pretty good records. Well, they lose to Eldrazi Stompy, Death and Taxes, Mystic Forge. And then they split the Grindstone matchup. Sure. But yeah, so Painters, the Mono Black aggro is a deck that I think is pretty good. Yeah, well, Turbo Depths in the meta right now is in an interesting place because let me load up the meta here for you. So we were talking about this earlier. So it's slightly favoured into Dimir Reanimator. It's pretty even into Dimir Tempo. It's great into Stompy and Painter. It's not great into Eldrazi. And it's not great into Forge, but we have stuff for it. And it's not good into Nardo combo. So you will be playing Matchup Lottery a little bit when you play the Turbo Depths. Now, the thing about that is Matchup Lottery is a big part of how you play Magic the Gathering. Unless you're playing like a Dimir Tempo deck where it's got like a pretty even game into everything, same with Dimir Reanimate, stuff like that, then sure. But that's part of how you live and die playing Turbo Depths. Anyway, a little bit more debriefing on this one. I think this deck is fine. I'd be happy to play this. I wanted to showcase the Mono Black aggro in my sort of series of the top 10 decks, but this isn't one of the top 10 decks. It's like a weird little outlier that I think is a lot better than people give it credit for. There's definitely a couple of different versions of this that you can run. I think this deck is pretty good into certain sections of the meta, but it's a little bit swingy into the other bits, so maybe we need to readdress the situations, because we were playing matchups where our Doughty Voidwalkers and Emperors of Bones were bad. When these cards are bad, it does not feel good. Maybe there's a line to play like the Beseech, Karn, Helm, Leyline decks, because Leyline's obviously good in the meta right now. Maybe that's something interesting. But yeah, didn't come together for us today, but that's fine. That's Magic the Gathering. Unfortunately, we got a bye, so there wasn't the most amount of content that I would have liked to have put, but we've got to do a little bit of commentating and bust out my commentating chops and talking nonsense in dead air, and I hope you enjoyed that. I don't really think there's much else to do here. I am quite hungry, and it's nearly 9 o'clock where I am, and I haven't eaten dinner. So I think I'm probably going to be ending the stream now. I'd just like to thank you lovely people for being here with me. This is my first live stream on YouTube, and it was somewhat of a technical difficulty at times, but so be it. we managed to get through in the end, play some games. We managed to reanimate some Broadside Bombardiers and throw our opponent's Wanderings in their face, and what's not to love about that one? Alright, I think we're done today, so please remember to... I imagine everyone here's already liked, subscribe. I'm not going to do the plug. If you would like to have a little bit of forecast of what we're playing next week, Monday is going to be Blue-Black Reanimator on the channel. Tuesday is Mystic Forge. Wednesday is probably going to be either Mono-Red Painter or Mono-Red Stompy. Then Thursday is going to be Nardu Elves, and the last day is going to be either Mono-Red Painter or Mono-Red Stompy, depending on which one I play and when. I'm just sort of working out the exact lists that I'm playing, because I haven't recorded those ones yet. Alright, thank you so much for watching and joining me here. And yeah, goodbye and keep playing Lego.